Yes. Hello, my beautiful friends. What an amazing day it is. Happy Friday and welcome back. We've got Bill Clinton, who was deposed today, and he gave us a very interesting soundbite that James Comer came out and waved around for all to see, saying, look at this, Democrats. Bill Clinton just said this about the president. We've got it queued up. We'll get into it. We're going to go through the latest, and we're waiting for them to come out. They're actually still in the building, and so we'll see if we can catch it as soon as they come out on this lovely Friday evening to see if Bill Clinton comes out and explains what went down inside there as Hillary did yesterday. So all that coming up. Then we've got a big Fulton County story. Our friends at Just the News, as we saw yesterday, had some more evidence that was disclosed from Fani Willis's office over there in Fulton County, Faniland, delivering that over to them. And they are reporting that Fani got paid millions of dollars from Joe Biden, the Biden DOJ, all right into her mattress or wherever she puts it. And we'll go through the documents to see where that money was going and how Fani probably used it to support her own gains as usual. Then we got 30 more arrests today, all coming out of Minnesota after that church attack. Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, all celebrating that. And so we're going to have a great stream together. Thank you for being here. Thanks for joining our channel, subscribing, liking, and all commenting and all the things. And then at the end, of course, we're going to hear from you. So thanks for being here and joining us. Now, without any further ado, confirming the tubes are working, we're excited to get into the story starting now. Bill Clinton deposed today. And as usual, just like his wife, they can't recall anything. They don't remember any connections with Epstein that would be problematic at all. Instead, Bill Clinton was just traveling around working on HIV research. Not spreading HIV, researching HIV, according to him. But we'll go through the latest because a lot of media, and us included, are incredulous to his claims once you're looking at photos just like this. And there are many of them that many articles are reminding us about. But Bill came out and before he went in for the deposition, posted, of course, his opening statement. And it's actually pretty funny because Bill is a character. But he says this: as someone who grew up in a home with domestic abuse, not only would I not have flown on the plane if I had any inkling of what he was doing, I would have turned him in myself and led the call for justice for his crimes, not sweetheart deals. Okay, so if the standard is an inkling, right, versus like I saw no evidence of a crime, an inkling, we all know what that means. Like, do you have an inkling that there's something going on there? It's a very low standard. Legally speaking, it would be like, reasonable suspicion, like lower than that. And we all know that there's a lot of inklings in all of the photos. But he continues and he says, okay, this is what I'm going to tell Comer today. This happened inside. Pretend we're in the building in the Arts Center. Saying, all right, good morning. Bill Clinton tells everybody, welcome to Chappaqua. I'm here today for two reasons. The first is that I love my country. And America was built upon the idea that no person is above the law, even presidents, especially presidents. Now, democracy requires every person play their part. That's why I'm here. We're almost at the brink, and I want to come back and have some civility. And I'll do my part. I hope you do yours. Now, the second reason I'm here is that the girls and women whose lives Jeffrey Epstein destroyed, and Bill Clinton's got a devastating wake in his path, deserve not only justice, but healing, which is rich. We'll hear from Hillary too. They've been waiting too long for both. Though my brief acquaintance with Epstein ended years before his crimes came to light, and timeline is going to be very important. Obviously, people are going to be scouring to see, were there any other connections after 2008 when the non-prosecution agreement was entered? Though I never witnessed during our limited interactions any indication of what was truly going on, I am here to offer what little I know so that it might prevent anything like this from ever happening again. Now, before we start, I have to get personal. You made Hillary come in. She had nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. Nothing. She has no memory of even meeting him. She neither traveled with him nor visited any of his properties. Whether you subpoenaed 10 people or 10,000, including her, was simply not right. And that's Bill standing for his woman. All right, that's great. She didn't do that to him yesterday. She's like, I don't know. All these people, all these photographs of Bill getting massages, Bill in swimming pools, Bill hanging out with Epstein in various ethnic garb. Hillary said, ask him about that, all right? She didn't really stand by her man, but he's standing by her. Okay. Now, we begin this hearing with me raising my hand and taking an oath to tell the truth. But everyone has a responsibility, to be honest, with those they represent. Whether you raised your right hand or not, each and every one of us owes nothing less than truth and accuracy to the American people. Probably lecturing the Congress people about that. Now, let me say what you're going to hear from me. First, says Bill Clinton, I had no idea of the crimes that Epstein was committing. No matter how many photos you show me, which is a perfect line because they probably have a lot of them. We'll look at some of them. I have two things that at the end of the day matter more than your interpretation of those 20-year-old photos. I know what I saw, and more importantly, what I didn't see. I know what I did, and more importantly, what I didn't do. And I saw nothing. I did nothing wrong, says Bill. Now, as someone who grew up in a home with domestic abuse, not only would I not have flown on his plane if I had any inkling of what he was doing, I would have turned him in myself and led the call for justice for his crimes, not sweetheart deals. But even with 2020 hindsight, I saw nothing that ever gave me pause. We are only here because he hid it from everyone so well for so long, and by the time it came to light with his 2008 guilty plea, I had long stopped associating with him. And of course, all of this goes into the Clinton Foundation and Hillary's role as Secretary of State, and Howard Lutnick invited Epstein to come hang out with Hillary. And so it goes well beyond any of this endgame. Now, you'll often hear me say that I don't recall. That might be unsatisfying, but I'm not going to say something I'm not sure of. This was all a long time ago, and I am bound by my oath not to speculate or to guess. This is not merely for my benefit, but because it doesn't help you for me to play detective 24 years later. But since I'm under oath, I will not falsely state that I am looking forward to your questions. Because he's not, which is funny. But I am ready to answer them to the best of my abilities, consistent with the facts as I know them, the legitimate, the logical, and even the outlandish. So I'm not going to lie to you and say I'm happy to be here, because he's not. And he says, with that, Mr. Chairman, fire away. And that's an interesting way to end your opening statement. Fire away basically means just kill me now. I probably like, just shoot me. I'm in trouble. Hillary's going to kill me when I get home. So just take me out, please. So anyways, that's his opening statement. Now, of course, the media comes out and they say, well, this is weird because Bill Clinton is being very defiant here. He claims he saw nothing. He did nothing wrong, but there's a trove of racy photos all over the place. These Epstein pics. Here you see this one, some unknown woman from the estate of Jeffrey Epstein. That looks like it's on an airplane. And we know what went down on those airplanes in that back room. So does this show that he doesn't even have an inkling? And I don't think this is just like a regular old photo, like a campaign fan or something. Yeah, come on in here and let's take a photo. Just, yeah, I'm at the airport, whatever. Looks like it's a little bit more than that. Now, that's his statement, and the photos just kept coming. Of course, there's Bill Clinton. Hillary knows nothing about any of this. She's so far away. My new conspiracy is that she's the one taking these pictures, right? Hillary's on the other end of the camera. Now, I'll take the camera. Just give me the camera. I'll just take it. So then she's taking the photos, or somebody is. But then there's Epstein, Maxwell, and of course, Bill Clinton. Whereas his wife, probably behind the camera. Here's another one, of course. Epstein had this photo of Bill in his home, along with the one of George Bush playing with the blocks, knocking down the World Trade Centers, which are pretty hilarious photos. Notwithstanding 9/11, that wasn't funny. But then, of course, another one. They go around and they're in their garb. They're hanging out, traveling all over the world together. And that's one there. And then there's more of Bill. Here's another one with Mick Jagger and former President Bill Clinton all hanging around at the table. And that looks like Galen with a different hairdo over there. And then another one on an airplane with some other woman because Bill Clinton just got done boxing or something. And it looks like disheveled sheets back there. That looks kind of like an airplane, or maybe that's a house. See this little weird thing going on over here? All right, so a lot of the photos now coming out. The Daily Mail, of course, has a whole compendium of them as well. Here's more. Epstein was over at the Clinton White House, they say 17 times. They say Bill was on the airplane a dozen times, and it's all in the record. So we're very excited to see what Bill Clinton ultimately comes out and says. But the big news today came out from Comey, and he looks like he made a special trip out and made this announcement saying Bill Clinton has said something. What is it? Here's James Comey.
President Clinton said, that's for you to decide. And the president went on to say that the president, Trump, has never said anything to me to make me think he was involved, and he met with Epstein. So I know there's a lot of curiosity about President Trump. I thought that was an interesting thing that President Clinton said. So I'll let the Democrats have the podium and they can answer your questions, but we'll come.
Yeah, it is interesting because that means total exoneration, courtesy of Bill Clinton. Thank you, Bill. He couldn't remember a lot because it's a long time ago, but definitely no evidence of Trump. Of course, we've already known that. So thank you, James Comer, for delivering that little tidbit of news. Came out, just a couple things to say. Going to go back in. But just so you know, Bill Clinton said no evidence that Trump was involved with Epstein. Read it and weep, Democrats. Happy Friday. So nice statement there. And of course, we're getting more photos out here. Megyn Kelly released one. Apparently, she had two friends that were getting looked at and groped, leered at by Billy. Says Megyn Kelly claims a decades-old photo now shows him looking down the chest of one of her young friends. Right there. There's Bill. He was the president at the time. Out at a club in D.C., apparently. And he's looking down her shirt. Not appropriate. He's married. Bill can't do that. And what's this little side hand, little grabbing the side boob over here? What's going on, Bill? Not so good. So she released it, shared it hours before they testified, said that she flashed this image of 1999, still president, telling her viewers that it showed him oogling her friend at the Bombay Club in D.C. soon after he was impeached by Monica Lewinsky for the Monica Lewinsky scandal. Oh, the dude is shameless. He almost got thrown out of the White House because of his cigar activities. And now he goes out to the club in D.C. He's like, hello, ladies. You know, I'm the president. Would you like to dance? Or something. And here's the story. So she was on there with Tucker, shout out, says Bill was not shamed at all after the Monica Lewinsky scandal. Claimed that Clinton brazenly posed for a photo in the middle of a restaurant, and Hillary and their daughter Chelsea were all there as well. The guy's just out of control. He can't help himself. So that was discussed in her podcast. Shout out to Megyn Kelly. And this reporting, obviously, hopefully her friends are having some fun with this. They almost got groped by the president, maybe did get groped by the president. But as we know, they are also all over the flight records. And Fox News, of course, had that story, says they flew a lot more than he had let on because they're liars and they don't want to talk about it. But 11 occasions have been reported, but the flight logs show the number is more than double that. Oh, no. And trips between 2001 and 2003. And again, those are before Epstein ultimately was convicted and had that non-prosecution agreement for solicitation. So in this case, Clinton is seemingly being honest here. Like if we got flight logs of him on after, like in 2014 or 12 or whatever, that would be a big problem for him. But so far, it looks like it was before the charges came down. Doesn't mean he wasn't also engaging in their activities. Named right here, Bill Clinton, 4 Secret Service people, 2 males, 1 female, looks like Ghislaine Maxwell and a bunch of other people. So dozens of flights. Official flight logs from the FAA show Clinton traveled on some of the trips with as many as 10 Secret Service agents. However, on a 5-leg Asia trip between May 22 and May 25, not a single Secret Service agent is listed. You got to leave your minders at home. Okay, you don't need Secret Service when you're going out there and hooking up with foreign prostitutes. The U.S. Secrets, that's too many people. You got to, oh no, I'm going for a walk to the park. Okay, Mr. President, we'll come with you. Actually, I'd prefer you didn't. In response to a separate FOIA request, the Secret Service said it had no records showing agents were ever on the island with Clinton. You got to leave them at home. The Clinton spokesperson did not return any emails. Epstein's current attorney did not respond to, a bunch of requests. And inside the files, inside those trips, we've seen reports from other people on the airplanes that things are disgusting that are happening there. And so I think there's a little bit more of an inkling there, Bill, about what's going on. And if we forgot about Bill in 1998, the dude is a bona fide shameless liar. Just lies right through his teeth to the cameras because he thinks he's so slippery that he can get away with it. He's so slick that you'll believe it.
I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. I want you.
Bill. So once you have a pattern and practice of that, your credibility is obviously shot. So everything that he says is a total lie. But Hillary Clinton, of course, was also attacking anybody who was accusing him of any wrongdoing. Our friend Mazemore, as always, digs into the archives and says the day after Bill Clinton gave his famous press conference, like the one we just watched, during which he denied having intercourse with Monica, Hillary went on TV and blamed the scandal on the vast right-wing conspiracy. She blamed Lewinsky, said Lewinsky's a nutcase, and claimed that Bill wanted to break it off, but she entrapped him. And then her evil smile at the end. Okay, this is just who these people are, so no one can believe them. Here's this.
January 1998. Bill Clinton is furiously and falsely denying a sexual relationship with a White House intern.
Lying.
And one day later, First Lady Hillary Clinton blames not the president, but his political foes.
The great story here, for anybody willing to find it and write about it and explain it, is this vast right-wing conspiracy that has been conspiring against my husband since the day he announced for president.
In private conversations later, notes taken by a longtime friend say Hillary Clinton dismissed Lewinsky as a narcissistic Looney Tune. And while she...
That's not believe all women, man, Hillary. I thought that you stood up for victims, not your husband's victims.
Called her husband's behavior grossly inappropriate, she said the affair was consensual and hinted it was spurred by the political pressure he faced. It was a lapse. To his credit, he tried to break it off, tried to pull away, but it was beyond his control. Her handling of the matter is complicated. For example, when she says survivors of sexual assault have a right to be believed, her critics summon the names of women who have accused her husband of just that.
Would you say that about Johnita Broderick, Kathleen Wiley, and or Paula Jones? Should we believe them as well?
Well, I would say that everybody should be believed at first until they are disbelieved based on evidence.
Oh, so your standard changes when it's not in your interest. Here's that little smile. Oh, yeah. So 3 women who were accusing her husband of attacking and abusing them. Believe all women. Okay, it's not really convenient when you're trying to destroy my husband, all right? It's only convenient when we're trying to have psycho individuals, people like E. Jean Carroll, make up stories about getting Bergdorf in the dressing room at Bergdorf's to go use it against President Trump. And then other prolific friends of Epstein, like Reid Hoffman, of course, then after they get caught, then they spend hundreds of their dollars or maybe millions of their dollars trying to reverse the narrative and take out Trump because they're caught red-handed in the scandal. So that's Hillary with her little evil smile. She's like, oh, I just smoked that lady. What a ridiculous question. How dare you accuse my husband of these things? But there is no way that Bill Clinton didn't have an inkling of what was going on. Here's another photo getting a nice massage from a woman or girl at an airport that has been spreading around. Bill Clinton in the hot tub with other random people. He looks a little too comfortable for my liking there. And he may even have worn dresses. That may be a real actual photo that said, you know, draw me like your French woman from Titanic. So Hillary knew, Bill knew, now they lie. They're shameless liars. They've been shameless liars, maybe the best liars of American history. I mean, it's pretty incredible how much they've gotten away with. But now they're all being held to account. So the deposition occurred. We remember this goes way beyond just the Clinton debauchery, for example, or the Bill Clinton crimes and abuse of women. It's also a financial scandal. Involved the Clinton Foundation, billions of dollars moved around in the interest of foreign policy and global initiatives and all the things. And this was Kevin Spacey, who has now been disgraced after his lies were called out. And here is this exchange where he's explaining his connections with Epstein from a couple of years ago.
In 2015, I started seeing reports online, things on my Twitter account that
wow,
I had flown to this guy Jeffrey Epstein's island and I had abused young girls. And I was like, I mean, if you'd asked me in 2015, maybe even if you'd asked me in 2002, did I know a guy named Jeffrey Epstein? I probably would have said no.
Totally.
Well, of course, I have since learned who he is. Mm-hmm. And I have since been able to go back and find out that the airplane that we flew on for this humanitarian mission was owned by Jeffrey Epstein. And to then learn, oh, he was actually on some of those flights. And this Maxwell woman was on some of those flights.
I had no idea.
I didn't know him. I've never spent any time with him. I was with the Clinton Foundation people. That's who I was with. Now, what I understand is that he didn't start to be investigated until 2005 by authorities in Florida. So here's what I can tell you. This Maxwell woman, she was one of many people that sat down next to me in that throne room.
Totally.
I have no relationship with her. I had no relationship with him. I mean, he's not my friend. I'm not a confidant. I've never spent time with him. And interestingly, I will say this. I was very fortunate that President Clinton introduced me a lot of business leaders in London because he knew I was coming to the Old Vic. And I developed relationships with Robert Earl, Pula Ladobovich, Robert Earl, a lot of wonderful people, Sir Richard Caring, people who supported the work that we did at the Old Vic and gave money to us.
Yeah.
Do you know who I never asked for anything? Was Jeffrey Epstein. I didn't want to be around this guy.
Yeah, no, I know. Nobody wants to be around him now after you get called out. This was back in 2024. So the files are coming out. We see them all over the plane. These people lie shamelessly, and then they overact. And they're not that good. If they don't have cameras and script writers, their little acting routine is not believable at all. And this is them sitting, I guess, in the throne. What the heck? They're sitting on a throne at Buckingham Palace, okay? This was taken in 2002. So certainly, once again, before the non-prosecution agreement was entered in 2008, but still during the time of Epstein's high levels of activity. So it's all one big, disgusting, incestuous family there. Now, what we're seeing is during the depo today, Representative Luna, she came out and she made a very interesting point. Something that we've been making here really since the Ghislaine Maxwell trial occurred in 2019, saying that there were 4 women who were on the non-prosecution agreement who were listed by name as co-conspirators. Thank you, Nick, for the clip, saying that they were by name potential criminals, co-conspirators. Not that they were, but they were potential. In the draft indictment that has since been released, there are names that are redacted out. They're covered up because they call them victims, which is a strange thing because they were about to be charged in the draft indictment. That's why their names are in there. So here's Luna. She came out during the depo of Bill today.
That Jeffrey Epstein was running a intelligence gathering operation. In my professional opinion, I do believe it was a honeypot operation.
Yeah.
And I do believe that there's a list of individuals who did engage in trafficking, were given these plea deals, and I'm going to name those individuals right now. The first one would be Leslie Groff.
Yep.
The second one, Sarah Kellen. The third one, Nadia Markova. And the fourth one, Adriana Ross. All of these women engaged in the trafficking of minors as adults. They were working and complicit with Jeffrey Epstein's operation. And in my opinion, they are not to be given victim status because they did partake in harming young girls. I remember seeing in some of the files, some of these girls were, as young as 10, 11 years old and older. And so obviously we have a lot of work to do, but I did want to come and give an update.
Yep. And we appreciate that. We've been calling for their prosecution more explicitly for weeks once we realized that nobody was going to get prosecuted and the DOJ was getting hit over the head with a hammer that is really self-inflicted because they're refusing to prosecute anybody. They basically close these files up. No one is going to get charged. And I don't know that that's going to satisfy anybody. So they could easily get around any of the legal blocks. Remember, the argument was why they couldn't prosecute those 4 is because it created immunity. Epstein's non-prosecution agreement draped this giant force field around them. Turns out Maxwell made that argument and she just lost back in, I think, October 2025. The Supreme Court denied her petition for a writ of certiorari on that issue, saying that the non-prosecution agreement, Maxwell said, I'm immune. They said, no, you're not. It only protects you in Florida. She got prosecuted in New York. Those 4 women were all over the rest of the country, in New York, in the Virgin Islands, charge them there, charge them in New York, charge them in New Mexico, charge them for anything, wherever they were, for interstate transactions, whatever. You can figure out how to do it. But they were already named. All you got to do is take the old draft indictment, shake it off, update a couple dates, and file it. And then from there, they can explain if they would like to take a very nice plea deal, fine, give them a probation or something because they were young and impressionable and exploited. We got all that. But you give them a plea deal in exchange for their testimony against the bigger fish. And those bigger fish are not protected by statute of limitations because these are crimes against children if there's evidence of that. And so they can be prosecuted because there's basically no statute of limitations for some of those crimes. So the playbook's there. If the Pam Bondi DOJ wants to pick it up and run with it, that's their legal way through all of the, oops, we couldn't find any evidence. And if we did, it's expired and we don't have witnesses. It's all there. So the idea that it's an intelligence operation, I think, is evident. And there's more to this because we got this email now that said Bill Clinton's personal assistant called Doug Band was emailing GMAX. Look at that. Back October 4, 2001. GMAX is Ghislaine Maxwell, saying that Doug Band sent her an email to GMAX from Doug Band that says, hey, Maxwell, you back? It's Bill Clinton's personal assistant. Another way to get in touch with me quicker is on my BlackBerry rather than emailing from doug.band at whatever. It's actually the president's BlackBerry. But why don't you just email me since we share it? So Maxwell, in 2001, has a direct line to the president, Bill Clinton. It's unbelievable that there's that level of proximity. Now, of course, 2001, we had George Bush in there. We just had 9/11 in September. And so Bill Clinton is not the president anymore, but he's just recently exited. So that's one angle. We also saw this incredible report by Headline USA, and I came across it from this guy, Ken Silva, on X at JD_cashless. Wild story. Turns out on a Super Bowl Sunday, when everybody's not paying attention, everybody's watching the Super Bowl, back in 2023, 100 terabytes of data were lost. 100 terabytes. Do you know how much data that is? You go buy a new cell phone and you get a terabyte cell phone. That's like maxed out, 1 terabyte. Maxed out cell phone, you get it. Wow, yeah, I need the data for whatever. It's like a lot of data. 100 of those deleted because hackers deleted it. This is a wild story. Says the FBI's New York office was hacked on Super Bowl Sunday 2023. Intruders got the files, and we can now read about the reaction as they discovered the hack. The record in question is a draft of a 2024 sworn declaration from an FBI agent called Aaron Spivak. We have it queued up. Working under an internal bureau investigation that is trying to figure out what happened with this hack. Let's take a look at the document. Shout out to Ken Silva for finding this one. But here it is. 64 pages, but we'll hit the highlights of it. It reads quickly. And what you'll notice first is that this is just a draft. Okay, so it hasn't been officially published. You can see some of the comments here, all the highlights. There were some comments in here. I don't remember exactly where they were. Right there. See that? Like these comments like in a word processor. Hey, should I put something in here about how the inspection report of which charges are likely derived from, blah, blah, blah. And somebody says, yeah. Glad you remembered that. Please add that in here. So watch what is happening here. Aaron Spivak, and this is over from justice.gov/Epstein/file, whatever, says, I hereby make the following statement. I know these people are special agents at the FBI. My attorney has been involved in this, was present in these occasions. And this statement took place over 2 days. We started talking about it January 26, 24, and again in August. So months later, we came back. I entered duty on 2/21/2006 as an intelligence analyst, been around for a long time. And I've got a lot of experience. I'm currently assigned to this. What do I work on? Domestic terrorism and child exploitation. I investigate dangerous crimes against children and more. Now let's fast forward a bit. We're going to go to page 34 so we know who this guy is and rewind just a bit so that we can see what happened on this one day. Here is where we start. They're fighting about computer technology and how things work. Now, below is a timeline of what happened today, what transpired. Noting that we had no idea this was a potential hack until late this afternoon. Given the potential that someone accessed our lab to do this, and that the issue may have been with the way we set up our network, like we screwed it up, we left a back door, something open. Below is a little insight to the many attempts we've made to get the FBI to assist in both physical security to the lab and to get us some help with networking. Here's what happened. 7:30 in the morning, you wake up, you got your coffee, still a little groggy. This guy arrived at the office and he noticed that my Tolino computer had restarted. That's weird. What happened? Computer rebooted? That never happens. It's strange. He says, so I logged into my Tolino and a TXT file popped up, a text file popped up that said in part that my network has been compromised and provided an email address to contact. Huh? This file was in the startup folder, so when logging in, it opened automatically. You can set, software to pop open as soon as you start your computer. I ran my computer's antivirus software, which was up to date and active, and it identified one potential threat, which I attempted to remove. Now, while this is not common, it's also not unusual given the data that we recover from subject devices, because we plug in all sorts of random stuff. So I attempted to remove the potential threat, but my administrative privileges had been removed. And despite any attempts to gain access to the system, I couldn't. So this guy says, I reached out to Christian Idsola at CART for help, but he was going to be tied up for a couple of hours. So then I reached out to Tolino for help and they walked me through some steps. Nothing worked. They then advised me of a process to take to run the antivirus software against my Tolino's operating system hard drive, which took some time, but identified the likely source of the threat. It called it a forensic program called Axiom. The threat was determined to possibly be a booby trap left by a subject who was a hacker that was tripped when the Axiom forensic program ran across it. Now, after this discussion, it was believed that that was the reason for the issues. We began working on a solution which was going to fix my issues. But then around this time, I also noticed our main server was down. But I didn't think too much of it since we just added a new switch and tried to configure some ports to run at different settings to increase our bandwidth. I assumed at the time that the lack of access was a result of incorrectly applying some settings to the lag in the bond. I was able to see that according to the switch, the server seemed to be connected just fine. Now, around 11 a.m. or so, I was finally on instant message chat, his computer's all wonked out, with the makers of the server called Synology. They had us conduct some tests and ultimately concluded the possible issue was a defective hard drive. Well, that's weird. So this was a problem since the server is raided, and finding the defective hard drive, so a RAID is, I forget what it stands for, but it's like multiple drives that are set up in parallel. So when you save something to one hard drive, it's actually saving it across multiple hard drives in parallel. So if this one hard drive fails, you can reconstitute the data from the other drives. This was a problem. It's rated. So they're like, it's a bad hard drive. Like, well, which one? Several of us began our attempts. Then it's 3 o'clock. This is when Christian Idsola and Louis LNU from the CART team came over to help. After a bunch of triage and testing, we could not figure out why we couldn't connect to the server, since by all accounts it was working. Then we noticed other servers, the NAS1 and the NAS2, were also not working. And although we were able to access their windows, unlike with the Synology, after some digging around, we looked and we found our data was missing. Initially, we thought, oh no, this was due to a firmware issue since Christian and I have dealt with that in the past and resembled the same issue. Then it gets bad, 3:30. Around 3:30 p.m. or so, we located the log files and began combing through them, which is when we noticed strange IP internet protocol, somebody poking around in their activity that took place yesterday from 2 IP addresses. The activity included combing through certain files pertaining to Epstein. I reached out to one of the case agents to say, hey, were you in the office yesterday? Thinking that maybe inadvertently changed the setting on the NAS or they noticed anything strange about them. Like, did you guys touch this? No. Around 4 to 4:30, we dove into the IP addresses. We checked all of our computers to see which had the IPs in question. One computer, our discovery computer, matched one of them and is located in the room next to the lab. The other IP is one we don't recognize, but it is the same address that the IPs on our network, leading us to believe it was a computer that accessed our network somehow. So somebody gets onto the Wi-Fi and then hacks in. We were not able to identify the computer, but it had to have accessed our network, either by being plugged into the network or possibly by telnetting in virtually. Somebody jacks in there. 5 p.m. comes. We realize we were hacked. We discuss what we needed to do to ensure that all of this is contained. At 5:15, we immediately saved our logs and shut everything down. We start ripping the cords out of the walls, disconnected the internet, and ensured anything containing a log file was preserved. 5:30, I call my special agent, Bob Welp in security, call Jessica in CART. I call Amit Patel in cyber. Amit, he's going to come in and solve this. Physical security comes in. Then we move to the 10th floor lab. Then that's it, December 21. So that's the end of the day. Okay, they realize they're hacked. December 21 made numerous requests, and we want a lock on the door. They say there's no funding for a lock. Hey, can we get somebody to put a lock on the doors? They say no. How are we going to come in and hack your files? And that's the outline. Now, once I realized this intrusion, I called SSA, Sheamus, and others. I called CART, and I told them about the intrusion and explained what happened. I said, we have a revolving door of scientists who are all aware of what's going on, and we've been hacked. I thought a lot of different things that could have happened to allow remote access. There's hash files that are here. There's CSAM materials. We wanted to share what we had, but 500 terabytes of data was gone as a result of this intrusion. Deleted. I was able to recover about 400 terabytes of that. I was told to Google how to recover the data. No one even tried to help us because what do they care? So then they called the section chief called Matt Smith. He was pissed because he found an email that I had sent prior to the intrusion that no one had responded to. I spoke with another person who believed, oh, it's just a systematic failure. But now data, 100 terabytes of data gone. And let's see how headline closes it out. We've got James Comer walking to the podium right now. And then we'll come back on that story. Here's Comer coming out live. If YouTube will play for us. There it is.
A long day. We believe this was a very productive deposition. I will have to say that President Clinton answered every question or attempted to answer every question. We can talk about some of his answers in more detail, and I'm sure once the video is released and the transcript's released, not only will you, but a lot of people in America will have more questions about some of the answers that were given and where we go from here. But with respect to today, this was a long process, and I want to say this was historical. I believe that in the history of Congress, the two highest ranked officials to ever be deposed by Congress would be President Bill Clinton and Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. This is a serious investigation. We will continue to try to get the truth to the American people and justice for the victims. But I think a consistent theme continues to persist throughout all the people that we bring in. Obviously, the government failed the victims. There was justice was not served in Palm Beach when Epstein was first arrested. We're
Not
very
even
concerned
close.
about that. We still have lots of questions about how Epstein accumulated so much wealth, and we will continue to bring some more people in and try to get answers. I'm going to yield to the other committee members, but every member of the committee participated both days and asked very good questions. Ms. Mays?
Yes, I want to thank President Clinton for being here today. He was here for a very long day. He did attempt to respond to every single question asked, even when his attorneys told him to shut up. He kept, going. I think there's agreement too on everybody who was here on both sides of the aisle that we want to get to the bottom of this, whether Jeffrey Epstein was an intel asset or honeypot operation, sex trafficker, prostitution ringleader, financier of Ponzi schemes, financial crimes, etc. There is an effort, I believe, and a belief that we need to get to the bottom of this because justice was not served in the Southern District of New York. It was not served in Palm Beach.
No, that was a cleanup op.
It certainly hasn't been served for many victims around the world who are victims of this operation. I want to thank my colleagues on both sides of the aisle for their questions today. Representative Stansberry had a lot of courageous questions. She showed bravery today. She and I never get along. Sometimes, in fact, can be seen arguing on oversight. But I say that because this is a place that is not partisan. This is a place where the country is seeing Republicans and Democrats work together to figure this out, find the truth, and try to come up with solutions so that when this happens, women are believed, men are prosecuted, their abusers are prosecuted, and justice can be seen and can be done. And I want to thank everyone for their hard work. I think I can't say anything about the questions and answers today or yesterday, but I will comment that I believe you'll see some inconsistencies in some of the responses. I brought that to the forefront this afternoon. Thank you.
I'd like to close by saying that we do intend to follow up and bring in, and I know that that's up to the chairman's discretion, but some of the co-conspirators that were given lesser sentences that were known to have trafficked young girls. Unacceptable. There's a difference between a victim and someone who engaged in prostitution and the trafficking of minors, and that needs to be clarified. I will again hold to the same thing that I said earlier, and that I do believe, and I'm sure some people on this committee also believe, that Jeffrey Epstein was an intelligence asset and running some form of a honeypot operation. I do believe that President Clinton, as well as the secretary, were potentially targets of that operation, and we will leave it at that. And I look forward to seeing you all react to the depositions, as I think that this is information that's important and belongs to the American people.
Mr. Langworthy?
I want to reiterate what some of my colleagues have said. I want to salute our chairman, James Comer, for putting together an extremely professional deposition these last 2 days. Factual. This was not a highly partisan event like most of our hearings are when we're in Washington. We were there to ask direct questions. I think President Clinton today was quite candid, probably more candid than his attorneys were comfortable with. But I think that
credit to him for that.
This will obviously, when we release the video of this, I mean, you'll have the opportunity to digest it. But we do have to get justice for the victims, because in all of the political food fight of Washington, D.C., what is getting lost is the fact that there are victims that deserve justice.
Depositions like this are important because we need to get answers. We need justice for the victims. Epstein and his associates committed unspeakable evil, and I'm glad that President Clinton and Hillary came out here. What I believe I saw over the last 2 days was selective memory. Very good details back into the 90s, and in other times, I don't know, I don't recall. So
yeah.
we have more questions to answer. Thank you.
And we'll answer a couple of questions. Yes.
Can you definitely say that as a result of the former president's deposition, you now have more information that you didn't have before about his sex trafficking ring? And secondly, also as a result of the deposition, will you be opening any new investigations or new inquiries into specific individuals or institutions?
Well, we're going to bring more people in. We're not finished. We didn't want to announce names before today. It was so hard to get the Clintons in. I didn't want to do anything to jeopardize losing them. I think we learned some things. We were hoping to get more, but there were many questions, as you will see, hopefully in the next 24 hours when the videos were released, that there were a lot of very specific questions about very specific documents and correspondence that were subpoenaed by that we got from the Department of Justice, as well as the Epstein estate. Many times the Clintons couldn't recall or didn't know or denied that they were pertaining to them. So, but I do think that we picked up some new facts. We asked both Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton where we should go from here as a committee, because we're sincere about trying to get the truth to the American people and hold some bad actors accountable in this. Yes, yes.
24 hours ago, you mentioned you were hoping to have Secretary Clinton's deposition released.
We've got one employee that does the videography, and he had to do the videography today too. So we're going to try to release those.
Approval by the attorneys.
Yeah. Well, the transcript has to be approved by the attorneys. So the video could very likely come out before the transcripts. Once the transcribers were in here, we had a whole team of transcribers. They're going to put it on paper. Then both sides will get to approve the transcripts. Then we'll release it. That's standard rules of deposition. We always do that. We will do that with the videos as quick as we can get them all uploaded and cleaned up, any background noise or anything like that. Then we will release them hopefully in the next 24 hours. Yes, yes.
Mr. Chairman, I know you've been asked repeatedly about Secretary Lutnick as well. While this deposition was playing out, President Trump said that Secretary Lutnick would testify.
Well, we have a lot of questions about anyone who spent time with Epstein post-conviction, the first conviction. I think that's where, and if anyone disagrees, feel free to speak up, but I think that's where most of our concerns are. Once you knew Jeffrey Epstein was a sex offender, why did you continue a relationship? So stay tuned on that.
It was worth it for them.
Why do you think today was more respectful than yesterday? Was President Clinton more cooperative?
Respectful both days.
Well,
We were respectful.
well, yeah, I mean, you can watch the video and say, everybody knows President Clinton. He's got Southern people skills. He's a charming individual.
Yeah, he's
obviously.
folksy.
So,
Mr. Comer.
yes, yes.
Mr. Chairman, you have said in the past that Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton were not accused of any wrongdoing connected to Jeffrey Epstein. After 2 days of asking them very tough questions in that regard, do you still feel the same way, that there's no reason to think that they're connected to any wrongdoing?
Well, they said they weren't. I guess innocent until proven guilty. We're going to go back and look at. The reason Ms. Clinton complained about being asked the same question over and over is because we presented different emails, different documents that would suggest that she was close with Epstein and Maxwell, and obviously she denied that. Now we're going to go back and verify that to see if any type of perjury was committed. Chad.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. President Trump said today that he knew nothing about the Epstein files and he was exonerated. Do you agree that he is exonerated of this matter?
From all the evidence I've seen, he's been exonerated for a long time.
And would that include your committee, if that's your position, from your committee calling him?
Well, we'll discuss that as we move forward. Obviously, we've got more people to bring in, and we'll see if any new evidence arises. But right now, I haven't seen anything. And if anybody
Can I just say this? The Epstein victims have exonerated President Trump. This is a trope that you guys are, a rabbit hole you guys are going down, but he has been exonerated over and over again by Epstein victims. We need to get all the information on co-conspirators. We still don't even have the names of all the co-conspirators because the Southern District of New York is hiding that information by redacting those names. And so
wait, just real quick, if I can also just add into that.
If that's the case, though, you make the case, the chairman makes the case, but why it was so important to hear in great detail from both Clintons, but why it's not.
If I can just elaborate
Bill
real quick.
Clinton was on Epstein's plane 26 flights.
Hold on.
I mean, he had information with them for hours and hours, lots
Real
of dinners,
quick,
all the things.
Chad, if I can just add in, President Clinton, and you guys will all be able to hear specifically what he said, reference a 2002-2003 conversation of which he did not feel that President Trump had any wrongdoing in regards to Jeffrey Epstein. It's incredibly important that you guys see through the partisan nature of what has become this entire investigation. It's also important that you guys are reporting the fact that everything that we are seeing in these documents, to include what I presented to both the Secretary and President Clinton, show that Epstein was running an intelligence operation. He was targeting people specifically, and he was intentionally bringing in and using women to traffic in minors and then exposing vulnerabilities for different people. What I will also say is that, like Nancy has said and the chairman, there is nothing that we are seeing where there's criminal involvement or reason to believe that the president has any wrongdoing, and that is why we are not supporting this crazy theory in bringing him into all of this. We appreciate that President Clinton said what he did, and I will say that that has probably been, I guess, the silver lining in all of this.
And I will say Secretary Clinton and President Clinton both offered, I think, suggestions, advice on where this investigation should go based on information they have, things that they've seen, experiences in their positions. And that's helpful to this entire thing. And again, this has been not partisan. We saw really great questions from the Democrat side of the Oversight Committee and the Republican side today. I was very impressed with where this went today.
Nancy, can I ask you, when have survivors said to you that President Trump was exonerated?
Yes.
Because they've only ever told me they want to see him questioned.
Nope, I've never heard that from a single victim.
When we met, when the committee, the Republicans and Democrats met with, what were there, 5 or 6 survivors that day? We met with 2 hours. And their attorneys. Of course, the Democrats asked that question numerous times to the victims, and they all said they never saw anything or heard anything
They want it to be
that
true
Donald
so
Trump
bad.
did wrong. Never saw him on the island or anything
And
else.
if I can just add in real quickly, also there was false allegations made against President Clinton. Okay, we are not going to bring in people that were making false allegations against either president. That's not what you do in this. Okay, we're looking for justice, and that's why we're going to be bringing in some of the known co-conspirators that were given plea deals. Okay, that's justice.
Who?
Congressman Luna,
Who
you
got
did a
plea
great job on
deals?
that. Thank you.
Last question, yes.
You have issues with redactions in the Southern District. Have you raised that concern to the Attorney General?
I have raised my concerns with redaction to the Southern District of New York. They have a letter, the DOJ and the CIA.
My advice to the Department of Justice is release the documents and unredact the names of anyone who wasn't a victim. And I think one of the issues we have, can you be a victim and a victimizer?
Yes.
That's a question that we're going to talk about as we move forward. Now, we look forward to seeing you next week in Washington. We will have further announcements of where we're going with the investigation, but we have 2 more depositions already booked, one with Jeffrey Epstein's accountant and one with Jeffrey Epstein's lawyer. So those are forthcoming. We'll probably announce some more people we're going to bring in prior to those depositions. But I think we had a good 2 days in New York City. I appreciate the Clintons being here. Wish it wasn't so hard to get them here, but as often is the case, it was more difficult than it should have been. But thank you all for being here, and we look forward to releasing the video and the transcript as soon as possible. Thank you all.
All right. So, yeah, very interesting, actually. And that's curious that Clinton was kind of running his mouth. His lawyers, I wonder if they leaned in there and said, hey, shut your mouth, Slick Willie, or I'll kill you, like the other guy for Les Wexner. So we'll see if Bill comes out and keep our eye on that and see if he has anything to say about this. But it was a little bit different tone than what we heard yesterday when Hillary Clinton was there. I had this queued up from this one from yesterday. So this was after Hillary. And listen to Nancy Mace on this one. Twitter, we're live. Elon, help us out. All right, let's refresh over here. Elon's making it difficult for us.
Wire to wire. So everyone's going to see what was asked yesterday.
This is about
I think
Hillary.
that'll answer a lot of questions, especially with Lutnick and other things like that. Throughout the day, we'll try to send different members out to give you brief updates. We don't want to disclose what's going on in the deposition.
I think this was from today. Or they were in the same outfits, but Nancy Mace says that Hillary was basically unhinged. All right, so here it is.
Throughout the day.
Ms. Mace, what do you mean that Hillary Clinton was screaming?
She was unhinged, and I hope that President Clinton is less unhinged today than his wife was yesterday. You'll see it.
All right, so Hillary apparently had a meltdown yesterday and Bill was much better today. So we'll see if Bill comes out. But we also saw the president. And before we get to the president, we did see that this article, of course, is available over at Headline USA. So if you want to read the full summary of this wild hack attempt, don't know if this was ever ultimately publicized or not. This looks like it was just a draft that they came across. But it's 64 pages, courtesy of Headline USA, trying to figure out how they got hacked, how maybe 100 terabytes of data got lost. Don't know if there was a full indexing of whether that was specifically Epstein files that were ultimately nuked from the files, but it continues on. And this was a clip about Hillary, and Barron Trump shared this one, a commentary account. She was saying that Bill had no links to anything back on the BBC. Here was this.
We have no links. We have a very clear record that we've been willing to talk about, which my husband has said. He took some rides on the airplane for his charitable work. I don't recall ever meeting him.
Did you ever meet Ghislaine Maxwell?
I did on a few occasions, and thousands of people go to the Clinton Global Initiative. So it to me is not something that is really at the heart of what this matter is about. They are accused, and in both cases were convicted of horrific crimes against girls and women. That should be the focus. And
okay, so that's Hillary. And we'll see if Bill comes out. If he does, we'll jump over there. But here was the president today, and he had some sympathy and some empathy for the former president.
I don't like seeing him deposed, but, you know, they certainly went after me a lot more than that. I don't like seeing him. Look, I like him, and I don't like seeing him deposed.
All right, so I think that Trump is being amiable on this issue, and it sounds like Bill was supporting the president, saying he had nothing to do with it. Trump saying, you know, I don't like to see it happen. And you wish that we didn't live in a country where we had to do these things, but we also wish we lived in a country where we didn't have our top leaders who were very adjacent to globally prolific PDF files. And unfortunately we do. So we have to have these conversations. Now, a bunch of people just filed out and they're still covering this over from the AP. We'll see if Bill jumps out, but that is the story. And you heard, I thought maybe I was being a little bit aggressive with Clinton exonerates Trump, but they came out and said Trump's exonerated. Bill Clinton was just another witness to that fact. Other victims came out and said the same. Bill Clinton says he's got no inkling of what was going on. We don't really believe that for a second. We saw the photos. He's all over the place, hanging out with Epstein in hot tubs, all the things. And hopefully we find out more from his depo. And if he lied, he's under oath to Congress, and all of that will be revealed. And so we'll keep our eye on this one. Thank you for subscribing and joining as we do. All right, now we're not done yet. We got more business to attend to. And now it's Fani time, because Fani Willis got paid some serious cash. Fani Willis got millions of dollars from Joe Biden. Big shock. We wonder where it's stored, maybe under her mattress, or maybe she spent it on more cruises with her lover and Grey Goose. But here you see from the office of Fani T. Willis, she really loves this font, District Attorney, coming December 29, 2022. This document released courtesy of Just the News, explaining that the Biden DOJ gave Fani a little bit of an invitation to come apply for this sole source grant and then started funneling millions of dollars down her gullet. Just the News sued. They got their hands on these records. It's been a nice treasure trove, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot more of these to come. But they explain that Biden invited Big Fani to come and apply for this sole source grant all the way back in 2022, right in the middle of the time that she was about to prosecute the president. And we saw yesterday that her office was clearly colluding with the White House, talking to their White House counsel, sending emails back and forth to the January 6th committee, and all in all being guided like a little puppet to prosecute Biden's political opponent. We'll read the letter, but the DA, some background on this, was highlighting that the Justice Department, back in 2022, they have this Office of Justice Programs, community-based violence intervention. They were handing out grants. Fani Willis ultimately got $2 million from the Biden DOJ. This is what happens when you do the bidding of your political superiors. That award was opened originally in April 2022 as a competitive grant. Now they just gave it to Big Fani. Justice Department says if it's non-competitive, that means no one else is even competing for it. Now, the award, Willis said she would use it for community programs for at-risk youth. What a joke. And that was just a fraction. When you look at the files, $18 million in funding came from the Justice Department, Office of Justice Policy, right into Fani's Fani, all the way from 2021 to 2024. $18 million, okay, to go after Trump, and she did it. Letter was in a trove of thousands of pages of documents. America First Legal, shout out, sued, got their hands on these. Willis dropped all privilege claims and released the files. But beyond these grant details, we know they've been working together to go after Trump, and not just Trump, but 18 other co-defendants in the RICO case there in Fulton County, all because they knew that they stole the election. Trump was investigating it, and they hated him for it. Now, we're familiar with this. Anybody who went to social studies class back in 3rd grade, we learned about the spoils system, maybe 5th grade. In politics and government, a spoils system is exactly this, where a political party, after winning an election, starts dishing out money to their cronies. Some people call it cronyism. Happens everywhere in America, and you can see it on full display right here. December 29th, Big Fanny's office sent this letter. You see from the office of Big Fanny right there to Scott Pestridge, perfect name, senior policy advisor over at the DOJ. They say, Dear Scott, from Fanny's office, and the person who's ultimately sending this is not Fanny herself, but it's the grants director who works there in the office of Fulton County. Michelle is her name. Henry. And she explains, all right, Biden DOJ, I want to document your recognition of our progress and services provided with dynamic partners as we complete sole source steps for our new Big Fat Award, a grant in which you invited us to apply. You said, hey, just come knock on our door. Sole source, it's going to you. All you got to do is just comply with some of these hoops, jump through them. You're going to get your money. Thanks to our first grant award, which is this comprehensive fund for anti-gang programs for youth. It's like another Leering Center, right? It's just money they're handing out. Do any of these any of these funds that go to homelessness, like solve homelessness? No. Do any of these programs stop gang violence? Probably not. It's all the same. Leering centers, autistic treatment. It's for, at-risk youth now. It's like nonstop. Here, have some money. Go spend it on your political patrons who can funnel that money back to you and help support your reelection campaign. And by the way, we're not for gangs. We would love to stop gangs. But is it Fani Willis who's going to stop that? She dresses like Biggie Smalls. So the program providers are the following. Here we go. Chris 180. Chris stands for Creativity, Honor, Respect, Integrity, and Safety. It gives children and youth and all these things behavioral health services. They're going to get a cut of the cash. There's also an Offender Alumni Association. They're going to utilize these approaches to mentor juveniles. Great. We all value excellence. Our law enforcement officers who volunteer in classrooms. Wow. And they mentor at-risk students. I'm sure there's some people doing good work on these things. But in my experience, I kind of relate this to like AA programs. Like, of course, nobody wants alcoholism or drug addiction. And so many will pump money into like these rehab centers. You go visit a rehab center, you'll find that many of the people in the rehab centers have been there 10 times because it's not about solving the problem. It's just about a business. It's like repeat customers versus maybe the AA program, when done appropriately, actually deliver some goods and value to the person, as was my experience. But the At Promise Center has 3 locations, blah, blah, blah. And so now that we've done these things and we've been awarded this money, we are expanding our reach by adding 2 additional program providers. And man, it'd be great to look into these. The Department of Criminal Justice at GSU. It's led by this person, Dr. Dean Dabney. She's an urban violence researcher and works with a ton of nonprofit agencies. And what we're doing, is we're going to audit the racial profiling protocols. There you go. A Fulton County Police Department, because Fulton's filled with racist white cops, I'm sure. Similarly, the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. They're going to go focus on gang hotspots and unhealthy extracurricular activities, right? It's all the same. And it's just money that's just being slushed around. But they say, you're not going to take it from the Christian athletes, are you? You're not going to take it from the criminology department or from Dr. Chandra Pilgrim. Sometimes black parents have been conditioned by their own fear and they parent aggressively. And so we have to break the prison pipeline system, whatever. So they get millions of dollars. They're just saying we're going to spread it around to our friends. And this is an email confirming that our dynamic partners are working together and we're very happy to win this grant award. It's most appreciated. Thank you for your consideration. Can't wait to get that cash. And of course, the cash is delivered to Big Fanny. She spreads it around to her people. It's just like what we saw with USAID, but this is on the state level. Remember USAID? Billions of dollars going out to all these organizations. We looked them all up. We're like, what do they do? We made a lot of fun of these so-called AIDS doctors that are working on AIDS vaccines. Like, is there an AIDS vaccine? No, but we're working on it. Oh, great. So how much do you need? $2 billion for what? Kind of the same thing on a smaller scale, of course. And I'm sure there's some good people doing some good things in these programs at some level. Hopefully, I don't know, maybe not. It is Fulton County after all. But what we're learning is these documents show depth of coordination. And Senator Greg Dolezal hit the floor of the Georgia Senate and had this to say after this post. He said 8,000 pages are now revealed. A lawsuit sued by Just the News and America First got their hands on the files. And now we see Fani got paid millions of dollars. Biden's White House was coordinating this. The DOJ under Joe Biden and Merrick Garland doing the same, and they were also colluding with the January 6th committee, which was acting as an unbridled, unfettered congressional grand jury, was going out and attacking all conservatives all across the country, saying, answer questions. What'd you have for lunch today, Sean Hannity? How many text messages did you send to Rudy? Blah, blah, blah. Here's Greg Dolezal explaining what they're working on now in Georgia.
Mr. President, we now have confirmation for what we always thought was true, and that is that District Attorney Fani Willis coordinated with the White House, the Department of Justice, and the Jan 6 committee in her attempt to commit lawfare against President Trump. After fighting open records requests like her office often does, she finally just yesterday released 8,000 documents to Just the News that reveal close collaboration and coordination with the Biden White House, his Justice Department, and the January 6th Commission. See, we already thought this was true because on November 9th of 2022, President Biden put up the bat signal. He stated that we just have to demonstrate that he, President Trump, will not take power. Well, 6 days later, President Trump announced he was running for re-election. The very next day, one day after President Trump announced, Nathan Wade had an 8-hour meeting with the January 6th Commission. Busted. Now, of course, much like all of his prosecution, when he's questioned under oath, Wade can't remember anything. No. Who he met with, what they talked about, where they met. He's got tremendous amnesia, Mr. Wade does. But 2 days after that meeting with January 6th, on November 18th, which is 3 days after President Trump declared he was running for office, Wade had another 8-hour briefing, this one with the White House. Why is November 18th significant? That is the day that Jack Smith was appointed special counsel. That was the same day that Matthew Colangelo resigned from the Department of Justice and left to lead the prosecution against President Trump with Alvin Bragg in New York.
Amazing.
And it's the same day that Nathan Wade was on the phone with the White House for 8 hours. We now know what we suspected, that the White House waived the executive privilege for President Trump that has traditionally always been held. We knew they'd waived it for Congress, but we now know, due to the documents released yesterday, that it was waived for Fani Willis as well. During this process, Mr. President, you're not going to believe this, but the White House contacted Fani Willis and asked her to submit for a competitive $2 million bid. Well, that bid then turned into a no-bid contract grant with Fani Willis, and she was granted $2 million in the midst of her prosecution of President Trump. Mr. President, the fix was in. This was lawfare. This was a coordinated effort between DA Willis, the White House, and the Jan 6 Commission to do what President Biden said, and that is to demonstrate that he will not take power. The Senate has done great work in uncovering this. I'm glad that we finally have the documents to prove what we have always thought was the case. And Mr. President, sometimes the truth takes a minute to come out, but the truth is now out.
Yeah! Senator Greg Dolezal, man, that was a burner right there. Make sure you're giving him a follow, Dolezal for Georgia, and supporting his work because he just nailed it. That's exactly what happened. And the White House was the hub, delegating all of the various prosecutions to New York, to Jack Smith, to Big Fani, J6 case, Florida Mar-a-Lago case. They were also, I would imagine, helping and facilitating other civil prosecutions with E. Jean Carroll and more. It was a full-blown, whole-of-government response coming out of the White House, the Democratic Party, and nobody's in jail for that at all. Right now, it's all just kind of being kicked around, hopefully investigated. But they paid Fani. They sent in their lieutenants. Colangelo left the DOJ to go over to help Alvin Bragg, who couldn't figure it out for himself. So Nathan had to go meet with Liz Cheney because Nathan couldn't figure it out for himself. All of the White House people were directing the prosecutions. Now the truth is coming out, and justice must be coming. Thanks to the friends in Georgia who are keeping the pressure on this, and Just the News and America First Legal for digging these documents out of her mattress. We're going to keep our eye on this one. All right, we got one more segment, my friends. And then we'll hear from you. 30 more church attackers now arrested and indicted. Pam Bondi and Kash Patel celebrating, saying, today we just unsealed an indictment now charging 30 more people who took part with Dans les Mains in the city's church attack in Minnesota, causing mayhem and broken bones. At my direction, today, federal agents have already arrested 25 of them, with more to come throughout the day. Pam says, you cannot attack a house of worship. Capital. If you do, you cannot hide from us. We will find you, we will arrest you, and we will prosecute you. The Department of Justice stands for Christians and all Americans of faith, and we are happy about this development. Every one of them should be arrested, tracked down if necessary, and face justice. Cash also confirming. Today, 30 more individuals have been indicted under the FACE Act in connection to the January 18th targeting of City's church in Minnesota. It's the new J18. As of this morning, the FBI executed a joint operation with Homeland Security and our partners, arresting over 20 of these people, with additional arrests to come. This makes 39 indictments in the city's church case total so far, including the arrest of Dans les Mains, who now is also being civilly sued, and multiple alleged leaders of the riot last month. Cash says, let it be known, this FBI will never tolerate anyone who targets, intimidates, or attacks Americans peacefully exercising their right to worship freely. Thank you to Pam Bondi and the DOJ for your relentless pursuit of this case. And of course, we know Dans les Mains is this guy right here, seen in the church, also charged and now being civilly sued. You see this report from the New York Post saying, now one of the parishioners is suing him, slapping this lefty activist with the civil lawsuit. Lemon, of course, 59, already arrested on this. He joined a dozen BLMers and other activists saying, I'm a journalist. I can go do whatever I want. First Amendment can trample your First Amendment. In the suit, the woman's name is called Ann Doucette. She says the protesters storming of the parish, which happened on a Sunday service packed with families, left her with severe emotional distress, fear, anxiety, and trauma. They were there saying, hands up, don't shoot. You didn't know if you were going to get blasted. Other attacks have happened on places of worship, including Christian churches, and that rowdy agitators deprived her of her right to practice her faith freely, 100%. The suit was obtained by TMZ, also named some of Dans les Mains' fellow protesters. The ousted reporter, they say, linked up, and he helped provide logistics and local contacts. And we've explained it, that there were one part of a whole. Dans les Mains needed the agitators, Nekima needed the media. So they were working in conjunction. Without each other, this is less effective. And so together, they have their strengths of insurrection combined. So Dans les Mains out there now calling himself a victim. He appeared to take satisfaction during the entire operation. We recall this is a photograph when he pleaded not guilty to the 2 charges when he was in court, but now he's being sued. Mob descended on the church, and now even more people have been indicted. Here is what the new unsealed superseding indictment looks like. And so this indictment is related to the same case. It's going to replace the original indictments, just kind of like a, version 2, version 3, version 4, as we learn more and we can flesh it out. And look at the list of these insurgents, all listed here. Should we read them all? I think we should. Nekima Levy, indicted. Chantel Louisa Allen, William Scott Kelly. All these people were already originally indicted. These were the first 3. This was the double handcuff woman, and this was the demonic voice figure. Then Dans les Mains came afterwards. That's the big one right there. And we got the full list. Jerome Richardson, Jamal Lundy, Traheen Cruz, Georgia Fort, Ian Austin, Aziza Aboud, Max Adamson, indicted. Michael Butte, Ezra Blumenfeld. We got Shane Bowman, Kelly Carey, Monique Quellers-Doty, Tiffany Dunlap, Andrew Edwards, Rachel Goglioski, Amelia Hanza, Ariel Hopman, Krista Hogan, Heather Lewis, Daniela Mathias, Katie Michelson, Eric Michelson, husband and wife little duo there, David Okar, Jarmel Perry. It just keeps going. And this is enjoyable because they're all arrested and indicted now. Cheryl Pergashel, Emar Moreno, Spencer Bocanigra. We've got Catherine Shaw. We got Satara Allen, Charles Swenson, and Robin Swenson, another little happy couple there. Thomas Tier, We got Lee Tuggle, John Virgin, yeah, and Mark David Winefarter right there. Great. Mark David Winefarter. All arrested, hopefully by now, indicted and charged. Perfect. Let's keep those numbers pumped up, baby. We love to see it. So here's what the new indictment looks like, and it is a little bit different than before. Saying the city's church is a Christian house of worship. It's located in St. Paul, Minnesota, and the BLMers hate it. On the morning of Sunday, January 18th, at the new J18, at approximately 10:30 a.m., the church pastor was leading a congregation in a liturgical service. They were in service. There, the pastor and the congregation were exercising their First Amendment rights. After the service commenced, a group of approximately 40 agitators, and we're getting close to getting them all. That's 39 right there. All right, so maybe 40. Who's the last one? You can run, but you can't hide. We're coming for you. Says here, 40 of them, including all the defendants named in this indictment, they entered the church. There was a coordinated takeover style attack. They engaged in acts of oppression, intimidation, threats, interference, and physical obstruction. Now, as a result of their conduct, the pastor, the congregation, they were forced to terminate the church service. Congregants fled out of the building out of fear of safety. Other congregants took steps to implement the emergency plan, like we're under attack. Young children were left to wander, and as one child put it, they were wondering if their parents were going to die. And Don Lemon was like, well, you know, this is American democracy in action. Children should be traumatized by my presence. So they call this now a conspiracy against the rights of religious freedom at a place of worship. And beginning on this date, all of the defendants named here were engaged in this conspiracy. Here's how they did it. They organized Armstrong, Allen, Strong, and Doty, along with other persons. They organized the entire operation. They called it Operation Pull Up. They did it on Instagram and Facebook. And I wonder if Instagram or Facebook banned them. But you know who they did ban is our friend, the Lectern leader, who got his Facebook account banned. He's running for office. Thank you for supporting him too. But I wonder if they banned these people after their attack on a Christian church, or do they just cancel Adam? Now, defendants here met at a shopping center for a pre-operation briefing. All of these insurgents were working together, including Winefarter, and they were there to plan their attack on the church. And then each of them committed overt acts in furtherance of the crimes. Here's overt act number one. On January 17th, before J18th, the day that shall live in infamy, Armstrong got text messages from a local news correspondent in Minnesota who said, an ICE officer is a pastor at the church. Armstrong, Nekima, she said, this is outrageous. How could he be a preacher and a Christian if he works for ICE? Then overt act number two, Armstrong used her cell phone. She did a number of internet searches. They have her cell phone. She really wanted that back, and there was a battle over that. The ICE officer named by the local news searched Midway Club, the meeting location, and they started the plot. Then on January 17th, Allen and Strong, they conducted a reconnaissance. They drove by the church in preparation for their attack. They made a video documenting their operation, including the location of parking areas where they could all pull up and raid the building. She noted in the video, my thoughts are to be able to clog up this whole alleyway right here so no one can leave. Then on January 17th, Allen sent another reconnaissance video via text message to the double handcuff woman for her to use in preparing for the takeover operation. Then Armstrong, Allen, and Doty, they exchanged text messages as they continued their plot. Ongoing, they prepared a flyer. Wow, so somebody's a graphic artist and put together Operation Pull Up and said, be ready to mobilize. And she posted the flyer on two Instagram accounts at Nekima and Racial Justice MN. Explaining on January 17th, they posted similar flyers. Chantel posted that. Then Doty posted it on her Facebook. Then Edwards shared that flyer on his Facebook. Oh, they're all busted through Facebook. Okar posted it. Perry posted it on Facebook. Then Armstrong and Don Lemon were texting each other. Uh-oh. On the morning of January 18th, all these defendants listed in this section here gathered together for a pre-operation briefing. At the briefing, Armstrong and Allen advised the co-conspirators about their target. They said, we're going into a church. They said, a church? Perfect. We hate Christians. Then that morning, Lemon began live streaming. He has the Don Lemon Show, where he explained to his audience that he was in Minnesota with an organization that was gearing up for a resistance operation. He took steps to maintain operational secrecy. He reminded certain co-conspirators, don't disclose the target of the operation. Don't tell them where we're going, otherwise they can plan. Then he stepped away momentarily so his microphone would not accidentally divulge the meeting. During a discussion with the defendant Armstrong, Lemon thanked Armstrong. Lemon said, "Hi, I really appreciate what you're doing. And I assure you, I'm not saying anything about what's going on. I'm not disclosing the target of the operation," because he's a co-conspirator in the operation. Armstrong also then explained that Operation Pull-Up was clandestine and that she and other agitators would show up somewhere that is a key location where the targets don't expect us, and we disrupt business as usual. That's what we're about to go do right now. And Lemon said, I know, we'll see you there. Now, before going to the church to join his co-conspirators, Lemon advised his live stream audience. He said, we're going to head to the operation. This is Don Lemon. Again, we're not going to give any of the information away because then it might show off where we're going and I'm part of this conspiracy. So I have to keep it under wraps or else you'll know about the conspiracy. Now, also, at the pre-op briefing, Allen, the defendant, led another co-conspirator in chants there. She said, this is what community looks like, and ICE out of Minnesota. She urged her co-conspirators that they have a duty to fight for our freedom by attacking Christian parishioners and a duty to win by scaring children. She directed her co-conspirators as the group prepared to head towards the church to stay bumper to bumper, which is easy for her because she's the size of like 3 doors. Make sure everybody got through the light and confirm that everyone had the address. Now, at the pre-op briefing, Armstrong also provided instruction and operational guidance to her co-conspirators. This is Nekima. She said the first wave of agitators enter the church just like you're Christians. Like go in there and like pretend like you pray. And then don't sit together. Don't wear anything that shows that you're an activist. So go in there and just like be secretive inside moles. Those who had anything of activism should wait and you go in with the second wave. Continuing on the morning of J18, defendants then went to the church. While en route to the church, Richardson told Lemon, hey, we got to catch up to the others. Lemon says, let's go, catch up, go. And because he was still live streaming, he instructed Richardson and Butte, don't give anything away. Don't divulge where we're going. We can't say too much. We don't want to give it up. While in his vehicle, Lemon also mentioned to Richardson and Butte, I don't think we can go ahead. I don't think we can go inside, right? And then he answered his own question. He said, no. I guess no, like we can't go, or no, maybe we can go. I don't think we can go inside, right? If you're answering that affirmatively, you might say, yes, we can't go in there. But then he says, no. But then they entered the church. Shortly thereafter, they joined the other co-conspirators. So almost like maybe saying, no, we can go in, answering the question in the negative, like, no, we can go in. Continuing on the morning of J18, all the defendants entered the church. First wave positioning themselves among the congregants. Second wave led by Armstrong and Allen commencing the disruptive takeover after the first wave of agitators, then were activated and joined. Now, as the pastor was beginning his sermon, Armstrong, Nekima, interrupted the service. Loud declaration saying, this church is harboring the director of ICE. And indicating that the time for judgment had come. You're all going to go to hell. And other defendants immediately joined in by yelling and blowing whistles in a takeover on the church, all of which quickly caused the church to become chaotic, menacing, and traumatizing. Now, while inside, all these defendants, including Winefarter, and joined others in the chants. They all started saying, ICE out, hands up, don't shoot, stand up, fight back. Okay, hands up, don't shoot. Like if you don't know that that's hearkening back to another shooting, I think that was Obama's son. Remember he said, that could have been my son, whatever that one was. Stand up, fight back. So hands up, don't shoot. You think that somebody like a victim might be saying that, like another parishioner is saying somebody says hands up, and then he says, don't shoot. So they're all now, okay, we're about to die. We're going to go up in heaven and spend time with Jesus while these people rot in hell. But while congregants and staff perceived these threats of violence, they thought it was going to be a mass shooting. Now, while inside the church, the defendants, all 39 of them, they oppressed, they threatened, they intimidated the congregants and the pastor. They physically occupied the main aisle and the rows of chairs near the front. They were menacing and threatening, chanting and yelling, and physically obstructing. While inside the church, this guy, Austin, he stood with other defendants in and around the main aisles, and he was interfering with their freedom of movement, approaching them in a menacing manner, loudly berating them, questioning them about Christian nationalism, and why Christians want to have their faith be the law of the land. Over at Act 28, while inside the church, Lundy also personally participated in disruptive takeovers, physical obstructions, screaming, "ICE must be out, out," and punching his fist in the air. 29, while inside the church, Cruz also personally participated in these things. Kelly did the same. Kelly was screaming, this was the demonic person, saying, "This ain't God's house. This is the house of the devil." He said to one female woman congregant who was with 2 young children, "Why are you not involved in this?" Screaming Nazi in people's faces. "Do you know your parents are Nazis? They're going to burn in hell," said this guy. While inside the church, another defendant personally participated in this, shouting. Don Lemon was there. He told his live stream audience about the congregants. He said, "Well, there was a young man who Lemon could see, he said, was frightened and scared." Oh, there's a young man who's scared and frightened and crying. And Lemon said, "Well, that's understandable because this was traumatic and uncomfortable." That's our point. As the operation continued, Defendant Lemon tacitly acknowledged that the illegal nature of this. He expressed surprise that the police had not even come. He said the whole point of this operation is to disrupt. Where are the cops? Cops don't care. They're out too busy worrying about the Somalians. While the takeover operation was underway, Lemon asked Nekima, the leader, "Who is the person that we should talk to? Is there a pastor or something?" And she pointed toward the front and said, "Well, he might have run away." Other conspirators were standing nearby. Lemon, Richardson, Fort, and Butte. They approached the pastor, surrounded him to his front and sides, stood in close proximity to the pastor in an attempt to oppress and intimidate him, physically obstructed his movement, Lemon peppering him with questions. While talking to the pastor, Lemon also stood so close to the pastor that Lemon caused the pastor's right hand to graze Lemon, who then screamed at him, "Please don't push me as I'm attacking you and your church." Which is like, oh my gosh, could you imagine? I mean, although the pastor told Lemon and other defendants to leave the church, the defendants ignored the request and did not immediately leave the church. After causing most of the congregants to then flee, they then all started to shout, "Who shut this down? We shut this down." As one congregant reported to responding police officers who finally showed up, some of the agitators blocked the stairs leading to the child care area, made it difficult and hazardous for the parents to go get their kids. At one point, Lemon posted himself at the main door of the church, was confronting congregants, physically obstructing them as they try to leave. He was saying, "Well, let me share some facts with you about immigration policy." Probably lecturing them that a misdemeanor is not a crime. As a minivan full of congregants, including children, was preparing to depart, Kelly walked in front of the minivan, screaming at them as they're trying to leave. Armstrong and Fort again stood in front of the minivan while they were interviewing each other. All of them also charged with FACE Act violations for everything they just committed. All signed here by the foreperson of the jury, which I'm sure is signed in the official file. All this is now unsealed over from Court Listener. All of them indicted, and that is really good news. So shout out to Pam Bondi and Kash Patel for bringing that. Don Lemon also facing some civil charges. This one is for basically intentional infliction of emotional distress. His attorneys will say it's baseless and all the other things, but maybe he'll get hit with other lawsuits from all of the other congregants who were in that church. And if the right had the same legal infrastructure that the left has, they would already be suing, and they would all be in big financial trouble in addition to this. So why were they there? Because of ICE. They want illegal aliens. They care more about them than they do about Christian parishioners. And their invasion was celebrated by the entire media, essentially. Don Lemon's innocent. He's just a journalist doing just good journalisming. Actually, no, they were attacking a Christian church. They didn't like the demographics. They didn't like the potential job descriptions of people who were there. And so Kristi Noem was on with Patrick Bet-David, shout out to Patrick, saying the Trump administration will not relent in its pursuit. We're going to secure the borders, we're going to have safe streets, and we're going to put America first. We will deport every single illegal alien in this country. Our message, which I hope they do, our message to those in this country illegally: leave now, self-deport using the app. By using the app, you may be able to come back legally. If you don't, you're going to face the consequences, and we're coming for you. Here's Kristi with Patrick.
A bit has come down, and the president even said, moving forward, if states and cities don't ask us to come in, we're not going to come in. But then isn't that, because some of the folks that voted for it are saying, wait a minute, are you guys not keeping a promise? How do you balance those two?
He wants to be asked to come in and to surge operations in those cities. He wants to, if a mayor or a governor recognizes that they have an out of control criminal element in their city, if they have people that are coming in and perpetuating fraud like we've seen in Minneapolis, that when we come in, to have that cooperation of local law enforcement is incredibly important. But the president's been very clear too. We're going to enforce the law. So yes, we're going to prioritize criminals, those murderers and those rapists, individuals out there trafficking our children and proliferating drug abuse and selling drugs. We're going to prioritize them, but nobody is off the table. We're going to, if you're here illegally, you may be detained if you're in one of those situations where you're with those criminals and removed from this country. You know, clearly, Patrick, millions of people have gone home on their own. They've seen what we're doing on our streets. They've seen us go out there and be strong in enforcing our laws. And they decided, you know what, maybe now is a good time for me to go back to, you know, Panama or go back to Ecuador.
Good idea.
Or situations have changed in their country. So what we do is we buy them a plane ticket. We give them $2,600 when they land in their country and give them some money to start going on. And many of the times I've gone to dozens of these countries and negotiated repatriation programs in their country. So in some of these countries, they've set up housing for these individuals. When they leave the United States and go home, they'll help them with housing. They'll get them trained to fill a job that they need in that country. They'll educate the children. I think Guatemala put forward a scholarship so that the kids there now can get an education when they return back home. And making those connections is something that I don't think any administration has ever facilitated before. President Trump's put a lot of work into making sure that we're encouraging people to go back home, and when they get there, that they'll recognize that their home country is the best place to be.
Yes.
And we also are very clear. If you wait until we detain you and remove you from this country, you will never get the chance to come back to the United States. You won't get to be in a work program. You won't have the opportunity to come back with a green card or to be a citizen. That you have shown that you will break our laws and not follow the protocols, and that there will be consequences for it.
How beautiful of a concept. You get care in your own country supports you and pays for you, not supports the rest of the planet as the breadbasket of the world. So they can go home and work to improve their own governance, right? Self-governance, and they can learn democratic values, and they can run their pupusa businesses, and they can do all those things back home. And if they need support, their own people can take care of them. We don't need to continue to pay and get ripped off to the tune of trillions of dollars over my lifetime by foreign invaders. So more arrests happening. Don Lemon now being sued. 30 additional people now charged. The number is up to 39. Hopefully that's all of them. But if there is that one guy out there, we're going to make sure he's arrested too. And we're going to keep our eye on this one, my friends. Thank you for subscribing and joining as we do. All right, if you're just getting here, it's been a beautiful stream. Happy Friday. I hope your week was amazing. Thank you for subscribing to our channel and all the things. We're grateful for you. We, of course, for our members, are going to be back tomorrow for our Saturday only, members only Saturday stream. And we'd love to have you join us. Thanks for considering becoming a member on the YouTubes, on Locals, or join us over at Substack. All links in the description below. And we'll see you tomorrow on Saturday. But if you're just getting here, quick recap on what we talked about. We had a great stream, lots of news going on. We talked about the Clinton deposition today and how, according to Congress, he exonerated the president, coming out and said he had no new knowledge of this. Congress came out in the Aftermath Oversight Committee and said that of all the witnesses that they've heard from, all the depositions they've done, Democrats are asking, hey, what about Trump? What about Trump? Do you have anything on Trump? No, they don't, because it's not in there. What is in there are all of these photos of Bill Clinton and him gooning on women, courtesy of Megyn Kelly's photo that was released while he was still the president. So for him to say that he doesn't have an inkling of anything that went down is just laughable. We also then talked about this hack that went down. Don't know what the consequences of the hack are, but sounds like it definitely happened. Somebody came in and nuked 500 terabytes of data, but they were able to restore 400 terabytes of it. And the hacker had a very keen interest in the Epstein files and hacked into the FBI systems somehow on Super Bowl Sunday when everybody was paying attention to something else. So shocking there. Hillary was out. We saw that May said that she had an unhinged meltdown yesterday. Can't wait to see that in the video. Trump expressing some empathy for Bill Clinton. And we were waiting for Clinton to come out, and he did not come out. So the broadcast has ended now. Oh, they use live view. That's interesting. All right. So that was from the AP. We talked some good Epstein stuff. Then we went over to Fani Willis land and saw that she's getting paid millions of dollars. Looks like Biden gave her $18 million in total, $2 million in the form of a sole source non-compete grant that they just kind of gave to her right around the same time that she started to prosecute the president. Conveniently, Nathan Wade said, I want to go on some cruises, Big Fanny. She's like, that sounds good, Nathan's hot dog. And they went over to Napa Valley. And then we saw Senator Dolezal over there in Georgia putting together a burner of a recap for us. And we appreciate his work there in Georgia. Then we saw Pam Bondi and Kash Patel both celebrating. 30 more individuals arrested, 39 in total charge. That's got to be getting close to the full crew. Justice is coming, and we're happy about that. So we talked through that indictment, saw Don Lemon is also getting civilly sued, and Kristi Noem is saying, we're going to continue to deport every single illegal alien in this country, so you better leave if you want a shot at coming back, or else you're banned permanently from America. But now, my friends, happy Friday. I saw some great super chats and some great donos and some amazing comments come in. And we're very happy to see you here. What a lovely day it is. Thank you for joining us and for being a part of our community. We are very happy to have you here. Let's see what is happening over here on this screen. And what's cooking over here? Donut Mind Me. Thank you for clipping for us. John in the house. And we got some fun we got some fun memes in here. All right, let's see what's going on over here. Bilton, great to see you. We got Whirlpool Galaxy. What's going on? Man, we got a lot of donos today. Thank you, friends, for all these. How fun. Yeah, and Tim Jake sent this one in too. Oh yeah, this is a good way to start it. Here we go. Well, it depends upon what the meaning of the word is from Bill Clinton, of course. What's Slick Willie? Bill Clinton. Should be fun to see what comes out from that depo. Zarky, what's up, Zarky? Thank you for becoming a membo. We'll see you tomorrow on the members only morning stream. Today we had 3 good segments this morning. We talked about the Pentagon, furious about the AI war. We talked about a petition to the Supreme Court for TPS cancellation from Kristi Noem. Oh, and they're suing 5 additional states for election voter rolls. We had good segments this morning. Zarky, check them out. Tim Jake, Sec War, Hegseth put Scouting America, the new Boy Scouts, on notice after meeting with their leadership, end all DEI or lose DOW support and the use of DOW facilities. Good. They have 6 months to comply. The video was posted to YouTube this morning. That's great. Yeah, that's great. We don't need that crap. I mean, it's not even the Boy Scouts anymore. It's now Scouting America. So it's like, okay, we know where this is going. Thank you, Tim Jake. Yeah, I did not see that one, but we don't need the government interfacing with DEI woke corporations. When the Democrats get back in power, whenever that happens, they'll flop it back. But for the meantime, you're cut off. Hey, what's going on? Paul Allen, 9 months as a membo. Thank you, Paul, for being here. Paul Allen, 9 months. That's a full baby. Congratulations to us. It's a boy. Without SAVE Act, Colorado elections will be rigged again. Yeah, well, I think it's not going to just be Colorado. It's going to be a lot of other states as well. So we're just getting ready for it. They're too busy. Oh, this morning on the member stream, we talked about the Pautastic bipartisan doggy gras. idiotic thing that Tom Tillis literally passed a Senate resolution so that he could parade, I got to admit, a real handsome boy down the hall of the Senate. But that should be reserved for a high school, not Congress. This one from Hillary. The Babylon Bee says, Hillary Clinton says she only recalls meeting Epstein that one time when she murdered him, but she never spent any other time with him other than his execution at the prison, which we all know. So, well, if she says so, if she says she only met him once, I guess we got to believe her on that. Thank you, Babylon B. That's funny. Freedom Print Shop. How do we automatically, after he was impeached prior, not just consider him a hostile witness to begin with? He is just kissing Trump's butt for a pardon. What other incentive does he have? Well, I think, honestly, like you could see the demeanor of the Congress people. They're not going to refer him for charges. So Pam's not going to, I think they're fine. Like, I think the Clintons are fine. And they know that by going, like, if they wanted to turn this into a problem, they would have ignored the subpoena and fought about it. But this was the smartest play to make sure nothing happens. Go in, answer some questions. If you comply and kind of show your belly, no one's going to prosecute you for it. But if you fight, then you're gonna cause more problem, right? That would be like legal advice. Like, just go do this thing. Just say, I don't recall a bunch of times, whatever. And nothing will happen. So I think there's probably, I would have said originally, you know, like there's a presidential code. Like Trump shows empathy for Bill, and then Bill helps Trump, like a presidential bro code. But they broke that the last time. Trump was the president, and they tried to wreck him and put him in prison. So I'm not sure if that's the case. I don't think Pam's going to charge anybody. So I don't like, how's he fishing for a pardon if Pam's literally not going to charge anybody? It's all kind of for show. Jigum, I won't be able to stay for the full show. Just want to put this out there before I go. Keeping with the love of dogs theme for this morning, a son, Dylan, of one of our wonderful Watching the Watchers member called Chubby, just lost his soulmate seizure dog named Wally. Seizure dogs come with a high price. As far as the family is concerned, Wally was priceless. Let's help them get another much needed dog. And that's on Give, Send, Go at this link right here. I'll open it up so you know which one it is. And hopefully we can share this in the chat so that if you're interested in supporting them, you can do that. Service dog for Dylan. Their boy Wally passed away. Man, you guys are awesome. Already raised $1,100. Amazing. Da Hook, Londo, Fat Dono, big fat donos, Londo. Man, you're awesome, Londo. Anonymous giver, shout out to Sadie. The Rubos sending some love in. Zone Girls sending some love in. Jigum Geegum with a big fat dono, Jigum. Man, you're amazing to do that. Thank you for doing that and being so awesome. So friends, hopefully that link is in the chat and you can see it. And if you're inclined, head on over there, make a dono to this amazing family called Chubby Stubby. Thank you, Jigum, for sharing that, Chubby. We're happy to have you here, man. And hopefully you guys get what you need and get your boy a new service dog. Thanks for sharing those links. Don't mind me in the chat, my friends. That's the link. Check it out. Rick D. Here's the image from the Hubble Space Telescope released showing the galactic rose. Two that are interacting to form this. What? This is in outer space right now? Two galaxies are smashing together, and this is called the galactic rose. I don't even know what to say. I mean, that's like out in outer space. What the heck is going on in this reality? I don't even know. Rick D sent that from an airplane. Maybe he saw that. He took that picture when he was on his 6,000th dive. Rick D, thank you. This old guy. Hillary is the only vast conspiracy, that's for sure. The size of all the other conspiracies for the past 70 years pale when they go up against the Hillary conspiracies. Bill, on the other hand, just a pig. I think that's probably true. Yeah, and Hillary just kind of kept him on track enough to elevate him to the presidency. And now she's they have to like deal with each other. Could you imagine? And the depo should be interesting when Hillary's like, oh, what's this photo of Bill getting a massage? She's like, I don't know. What's this photo of Bill getting a massage? I don't know. What's this photo with this woman on Bill's lap? I don't know. What's this photo with Bill in the hot tub? I don't know. Hillary, I don't know. Talk to him about it. Well, kind of looks like your husband's with a lot of women and he's getting pretty close to them. Like, do you love him? Do you care at all? She's like, yes, I love him. Brutal. Thank you, this old guy, Rick D. Oh, please. It wasn't a 747. The plane wasn't that big. He had to know. Yeah, exactly, Rick. You're on the plane and you can't, it's not like separate classes there. It's a pretty small plane. You can see and hear and probably smell what's going on it. It's disgusting. Rick D, sharing President Clinton's BlackBerry had to be whitelisted by the Secret Service. The only email addresses allowed to go through must be approved by the Secret Service. Or I'm wondering if they just, or it's off the books. Like Hillary had a whole email server that was like in the basement somewhere. ClintonEmail.com. She was the Secretary of State. None of it's approved. So I think they just have a parallel system that gives them direct access. Like they're insane. Is that all being gobbled up by foreign intelligence? Answer, yes. Gauntlet KI. I need more X and YouTube clips that go over topics. Like the shorter clips, like so we stopped publishing so much on YouTube because we were overdoing it. So that's an interesting request. Thank you, Gauntlet KI. Maybe we can post them to a separate channel and bring that back in. You don't want to overload your channel. We were posting like 8 to 10 pieces of content a day. It was like too much. YouTube hated it. Anyways, thank you, Gauntlet KI. Maybe we'll post those on a separate channel. Corndog Antihero. Things Republicans didn't do. Here we go. Repeal National Firearms Act, the SAVE Act, judicial reform, immigration reform, trade deals, arrest anyone at all for the largest invasion in human history. Things Republicans did do, depose Bill Clinton. Wow. Who's not going to get charged for anything or lead to anything. They're going to do awesome in the midterms. Way to set up JD for failure in 28, Republicans. So I actually think if the Republicans lose the midterms, they have a better shot in 28, kind of obnoxiously. Because the Democrats are going to be super obnoxious when they take control of the House, if they do. Hope, maybe they don't, but I think they will. If and when they do, they're going to be very obnoxious. Everyone's going to be impeached. They're going to start hyperventilating again about, insurrection and fascism and all the things. None of it makes any logical sense. They're all mental. And it's going to translate, I think, pretty well, again, for elections. People say, oh, yeah, we forgot why we elected Trump and the Republicans, because the Democrats are literal lunatics. That's the only silver lining there. But the Republican Congress, they're this is one of the most pathetic, I think, eras, probably the most pathetic eras of my entire life in terms of their failure to do anything. Like even Newt Gingrich had the contract with America and stuff. He's like, let's try all this and do this and that. At least it's something. They didn't do crap. This is the last however long it's been, and they're not going to. So they should be ashamed of themselves for stabbing the American people right in their backs. Thank you, Corndog. This old guy, 1 terabyte of data is a lot. 100 terabytes of data is a lot. A standard HD 1080p movie is 2 to 5 gigabytes each. So 100 terabytes of Epstein data is 20,000 to 50,000 full-length movies. Maybe it's all that Nest Cam footage that's on there, this old guy. Yeah, and I don't know that it's confirmed in there. I didn't read that full document, obviously, but we know that they were perusing the Epstein files and then deleting something. So what were those? Were those Epstein files that were ultimately deleted? Apparently the FBI nuked the DVR in the prison as well. That's how the data got corrupted. So who's deleting all this stuff is the question. King of Biltong, baby. Get your meat. Try our Biltong, more than 50% protein packed with B vitamins, creatine, iron, zinc, and much more. A perfect snack addition to your weekly meal prep. Get your delicious and juicy meats at BiltongUSA.com. And when you do, use code Robert. You'll save 10% off. Indoctrination. Great to see you. Shout out to our Indoctrination friends. Thank you for rating our stream. Nice to have you here. Hopefully we see you back here. Thank you, Indoctrination, for doing that. Corn Dog. Respect the game. Hashtag bomb Iran. Here's George Bush. Not a single mention in the Epstein files. No blackmail at all. He just bombed the Middle East for the love of the game. And got America in 2 wars. What about Cheney, Liz Cheney, or Dick Cheney? Is he in those files, or was he just a different operator? Yeah, here's one from Corndog Antihero. No France. Is there a no France movement? The world has progressed past the need for France. It's true. I really don't know what we need them for. We already have freedom fries. So that's pretty much the end of the game for them. No parlez-vous nada, amigos in France. Hey, corn dog, you know who isn't in the Epstein files and believed in the Second Amendment and taking on the big banks? Bonnie and Clyde from 1933. That's right. That's exactly right. Yes. Shout out to Bonnie and Clyde. I don't really know much about them. Were they bank robbers or something? All right, anyways. Hey, what's going on? Clint Eastwood is here. One old guy says, I just finished watching Trump in my hometown town of Corpus Christi. It was a good speech in classic Trump. Man, that's amazing. Yeah, so I think he was out in Texas talking energy, right, with Ken Paxton today. Yeah, we'll have to check that one out. Thank you, one old guy, for the nice dono. Number one in the chat. Do you look like Clint Eastwood? That was a fun movie. Hey, corn dog. Just think, if Massey was serious about investigating crimes and people who associated with serial rapists and killers, yeah, well, again, I think the Epstein saga has multiple layers to it. Multiple layers. But yeah, here's Ted Lieu. Ted Lieu is parading around with this guy. Maybe doing more with this guy. I don't know. That photo right there, man, they look a little too close for comfort on that one. You know, that hand on the shoulder. Oh, gosh, what's going on here? Yeah, but that's Ed Buck. He was a Democrat mega donor. He would bring in black men to his home and then pump them full of methamphetamines, and then they would die. And then he would keep donating to Democrats, and they're like, well, that's okay. We don't really care about that. Yeah, that was a horrific story. Thanks for the recollection on that. Ted Lieu's BFF and maybe more. Sin, I do not want another Clinton stain on our America. Ah, Sin. Yeah, Clinton's stained a lot of things. Ah, gross. Thank you, Sin. No, we don't. We almost had Hillary. Could you imagine? We saw her, like the New York Times had that little speedometer, and it was like 97% Hillary's going to win. Remember? And then election night was like, whoop. We're like, yeah, one old guy. Bill Clinton, I never knew anything about any witnesses in my case or Epstein, but my wife was the one who fixed many things and people. She may have been taking pictures. I mean, you never know. Who was the person behind the camera? Here's a leaked photo of what Hillary Clinton, we had a leaked photo problem yesterday. Almost derailed the whole friggin' hearing yesterday with Hillary. Here's what it was. Hillary Clinton's leaked photo right here. She was taking a booty shot. Hillary. Oh no, Hillary. She's sending booty shots to Comer. That's probably AI, but it might be real. You never know. Hey, the Quiet Part Pod. What's up? The Quiet Part Pod. Man, good to see you again. I think we exchanged some emails a long time ago. Good to see you. The Quiet Part Pod. Delay is obvious. Brought in 5 membos. Good to see you, the Quiet Part Pod. Delay is obvious. LM Evans. We got Just Me in again. Welcome. Lance in the house and Hyphen in the house. Great to see you, the Quiet Part Pod. Over on Rumble. And I think we were going to do an interview at one point. I think we were emailing like 3 months ago. I just remembered that. Thank you, the Quiet Part Pod. I checked out your channel. Nice stream. So that's over Rumble. Check them out, the Quiet Part Pod. Sure, I dropped the ball on that. Sorry about that. Good to see you again, though. We appreciate you. Hey, M. McKenna. Sounds like Trump and the Clintons made a deal. I hope I'm wrong. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that the DOJ wants to prosecute anybody. And Pam Bondi already made it very difficult to do that. So did Todd Blanche. They came out, said we've like 3 times now. They've said we've come out, we've looked at it. There's no evidence of anybody else being trafficked to anybody else. And so before the files even came out, they said, we've looked at it, you're done. Files came out. Todd Blanche came out after the files were out and said, we're done. No one's getting prosecuted. So from our read on it. And I think that's going to be the game. Like, honestly, they're done. So our thesis was, how do you get around that? They might say, well, there's no new evidence. We haven't seen any new evidence. Well, here's a strategy. Go after the 4 who were already in the original draft indictment, named in the NPA. Charge them. Supreme Court says they don't have immunity, so you're not bound by the NPA. Charge them in any other district. And then start the case back up again. And you can use your excuse to get out of the hole that you've dug yourself in, saying that we have no new evidence, of saying, oh, the Supreme Court just decided this in October last year. So that's your fake excuse to reopen the case. Oh, a new decision. Well, I thought you said that there was, well, the Supreme Court just came down months ago and had a new decision, and that gives us some new legal options. And so now with these new options, I mean, I think that this is like, if the House swings the other way, this is going to be the Democrats' like main attack vector when they're in charge, and they're not going to be nice and cordial like James Comer is. It's going to be a I think an uphill battle. We'll see. I mean, they may get the ball and want to not run it because of all the implications for their party. But I think, this could open up the floodgates for impeachment proceedings for like many of them. And we'll see if they do that. Their base is going to be clamoring for it. Have the Democrats in recent history been reasonable people? I don't think so. So McKenna, yeah, I'm not sure if they made a deal. I think the Clintons knew that they're probably safe. If you don't cooperate, it's going to get worse. Cooperate, it'll go away, because the DOJ has already telegraphed that. The Rubos are here. RubosSaltShop.com. The best salt you've ever had in your life comes from the oceans of France, and it's delicious. Examine Bill Clinton's words on Trump. According to Comer, quote, "That's for you to decide on whether Trump was involved. And Trump has never said anything to me to make me think he was involved." Interesting choice of words, definitely, if you parse them. Why would Trump ever speak with Clinton about Epstein? We all know Trump was not involved at all, but strange choice of words on Bill's part. He did not say Trump was never involved. Yeah, and he's very good at that. It depends on what the meaning of is. We do remember. So he's saying Trump has never said anything to me. Okay, I don't have any evidence, but he's not exonerating him out, I guess, globally. But he had close proximity to Epstein and is a former president. So that plus all of the other witnesses and all the other depositions where the Democrats are in the room saying, did Trump do these things? Adds up. We've got another notch in the exonerative file. But Bill Clinton is Slick Willie. That's why they call him Slick Willie. Thank you, Rubos. Get your salt, RubosSaltShop.com. Brian Bishop, 17 months as a member. Brian, almost 2 full babies. Thank you for being here. Almost full 2 terms. Bill could control America, but not Monica. Right, says Brian Bishop. Yeah, I was just a boy at that time. I remember asking my mom questions, and she's like, it was a coffee stain. I'm like, oh, really? Why are we concerned? Why are we worried about a coffee stain, Mom? It's a coffee stain. All right. Bill would control America, but not Monica, right? Yeah, I don't know how old I was. How old was it? When was that? The Monica Lewinsky scandal? Maybe I wasn't that young. But I think I was pretty young. Monica Lewinsky scandal. When was the date range on that? 1998. Their relationship began 1995, so I'd have been 10 years old. When Clinton was 49, Lewinsky was 22. So I've been like 10 years old. What kind of stain are they talking about, Mom? It's coffee. Just change the channel. I'm like, okay. Nathan's hot dog, baby. Look how good I look, man. Man, that hat is fly. Tremendous goddess, that hat. It's right back there, right over my shoulder, right here. Dun, 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 dun. Man, it's a good looking hat. I wonder if Fani Willis will get excited if she sees that. One old guy, Fani T's hot dog lover. Okay, we got a song here. I want to be your lover, lover, Nathan's hot dog, lover girl. Use the tune Lover Boy by Billy Ocean. I don't know who that is. I think we nailed it though. Thank you for that. Hey, in my fanny pack. I got to dig that out. Man, it's so good. I got so much swag. You guys really gifted me with all the Fanny swag. It's great. It's good swag, honestly. Fanny pack. You know how much Grey Goose you can fit in there? You know how much cash you could take on your Norwegian cruises? You know, a lot, man. Hey, Fanny Taifa, Jezebel Willis. She's a $2 million call girl. That's a funny one. Yeah. Hey, what do you need? And it's going to cost you $2 million if you want me to do those things. Nathan's like, $2 million? Baby, I don't have that much money. It's like, okay, I'll give you $700,000 from the Fulton County coffers. Thank you, one old guy. One old guy says, need to get a package bar soap together for Don Sourpuss Lemon. A communal shower. Oh, well, you know, he's a gay man. Okay, we'll stop. One old guy, Noxema Nakima Skid Mark Weinfurter. Skid Mark Weinfarter, I think is how you pronounce it. So, hey, one old guy. Everyone on that list, a great nickname can be made. For example, like a virgin. I saw that one for the very first time. The list is gold. We've got 3 tiers. Ivana Tuggle. You get it. Yeah, we get it. Definitely. Definitely. Yeah, the Ivana Tuggle. Yeah, and Weidenfart, or whatever his name was. Rick D. Rob. Hey, the hands up, don't shoot came from the St. Louis guy called Gardner. Was it? Hands up, don't shoot? I thought that was like Trayvon Martin. The name just came up. Hands up, don't shoot. What was that? Ferguson? Michael Brown in Missouri. It became a rallying cry. 18-year-old black man, Michael Brown in Ferguson. All right. Michael Brown in Ferguson. Was that Ferguson, Missouri? Sometimes shortened as this. It's on Wikipedia. They got a whole page for it. Michael Brown, Ferguson, Missouri. Eric Holder. Yeah, it was the Obama kid. Obama said of the investigation that people said that he had his hands up. No, he didn't. Ridiculous. Another one. Yeah, we know. I know. Racist white cops shooting everybody. We got it. Corn Dog Anti-Hero. Well, Trump says he is considering nominating Senator Ted Cruz to the Supreme Court. Oh, gosh. No. Ted Cruz. How old is Ted Cruz? 55. That's pretty young. Yeah, okay. Hopefully that doesn't happen. From OSZ. Yeah, hopefully that does not happen. What's going on, Gerald? Gerald Koth. If the criminal invaders did not show up for the hearing on their status on the assigned date, then they're felons. I bet most of the so-called refugees are felons. Yeah, they do. They get all these notices to appear and then don't appear, I think to the tune of millions. Like there are hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of people who have got in here. We've said, here, have some due process. They say, but due process means you've got some responsibilities. You have to show up here so that we can adjudicate your case. They say, here's your due process. They wipe their butts with it and they throw it right in the garbage. Thank you, Gerald. One old guy, and they don't show up to court. One old guy, if convicted, will Lemon's name be Donna, Idaho, while being the most popular girl in the Clinka? I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know what Don Lemon's going to do in there. Should be interesting. Rick D, the same whitelist issue came up with Hillary's server when she emailed Obama. That email address has to be approved and whitelisted to get through. So there you go, Rick. Thank you for that. So Hillary's email, like the Clinton emails, were whitelisted by the Secret Service. And like nobody checked to see whether she was housing her server in a basement. Thank you. Hey, watching the Watchers on Rumble. Hey, Rob, it's Neuro. Just a reminder, I have this channel parked for you. Thank you, Neuro D. Thanks for looking out, man. Yeah, we should probably go like register those things, but Neuro D looking out for us. Thank you for handling that channel, man. Watching the Watchers. We get some we get some spam on Rumble. People make a lot of separate like Rob Gouveia channels and they comment and they're like, it's not good, actually. It's not good. Rob, thank you. Miss Clinton. Did your husband Bill ever try to slip antibiotics to you? That was Bill Gates. One other question. Do you have any STDs? That was Bill Gates, but pretty close. Maybe you're talking about him. Thank you, Rob. JP Milligan. What's up, JP? Thank you for becoming a membo. Grab the members only stream from this morning. We had a good one. And we'll see you back here tomorrow as well. Gauntlet KI. You have great explanations between topics that are fire. Man, thank you, Gauntlet. Sometimes we're just bumbling around here. But thank you, Gauntlet. We appreciate that. Rob, hey, please don't insult apes. Okay, apes are not black people. That's the meme of Al Green on Telegram. Yeah, it's like, we know that. Why are you saying that? Like, nobody thinks that. Why do you have to make a sign about that to tell people that you're not? Like, we know. Curtis Bartle, if Thune won't come to the floor, Trump will EEO, executive order, the act. Man, did he say that today? Curtis Bartle? I didn't see that. He'll pass some election executive order. Again, I don't think it's going to do much. He's going to get sued into oblivion. Many state courts are going to say already it's the Purcell principle. We're too close to the primary, so they're not going to do it. Congress needed to do it, so it had the stamp of approval from both branches, but they won't. And the judges, if it's an executive order, will do with all of the other executive orders like they've done with all of the current executive orders. So it might be a token victory, but it's not. I think in practice, it's not going to do much of anything, unfortunately. Sinsin, those watching The Watcher guys crack me up. The watching The Watcher guys, are you talking about these guys? These are they're Muppets, right? These are the Muppets. These guys are great, by the way. Yeah, they're probably maybe my favorite Muppets. They're a lot of fun. They have funny jokes, and it's kind of how I want to be when I, get old. Just kind of cracking one-liners and then laughing with my best friend about it, about how funny we are. I can envision that as my future. And maybe I'll have a chin like that too. You never know. Friends, thank you so much for sending those in. Great comments, lots of fun, some funniness in there, some spiciness in there. You know how much we love all of it. Thank you for sending them in. Thank you for supporting our work and all the things. Hey, Corn Dog Anti-Hero with a big Epstein comment. Let's take a look at it. It says, Epstein isn't real, okay? He was a front man created by the intelligence agencies to launder money and do things internationally. The, quote, Epstein files are nothing more than CIA documents, both true and false. And I think that there's probably some truth to that. Like, there's probably some good data in there, and there's probably a lot of poisoned data in there. It's hard to make sense of a lot of it. Now, the current drama drummed by conservative, quote, influencers and Democrats are useful idiots. Like Massey is nothing more than a distraction from Trump and other things. England hates Trump. Now he's being forced to step down. Trump and the CIA are using the files to wreck British politicians. And we're all just useful idiots. So I guess you didn't really enjoy the show there, Corn Dog Anti-Hero. We've been covering it for 2 days now, and a lot longer than that. So would you include us in that list of useful idiots? I think many would. Slick Willie says, just another Albertan. May have been better served co-opting the befuddled, dementia-riddled Joe Biden defense. AKA, Biden is an elderly man with a poor memory. If it is acceptable to Americans for a sitting president, what the hell besides hell does an ex-president have to fear? I think nothing. Yeah, I think most of these people have nothing to fear. The defense is the DOJ has already exonerated them. So if they now get charged, okay, this is like why I get so frustrated about it, because they have a legal opening to get around this. But the current defense would be, let's say Bondi and Todd Blanche say, man, this political pressure is way too hot right now. We have to indict somebody. They go indict Reid Hoffman. Reid says, how could you possibly indict me? I have already been exonerated. He's going to pull out Pam Bondi's signed statement that says nobody else did anything wrong from the Attorney General. So how do you get around that, right? You need to develop new evidence. How do you do that? You go after the 4 people named in the NPA who have no immunity. Supreme Court just said that they don't have immunity. And the appeals have been exhausted for Gillin. So then you can say, okay, we're going to use them. They'll give new evidence. Then with that new evidence, then you can go get these other people. But if you try to do it on the basis that the DOJ is already, like in the files, they've said there's no evidence. So Bill Gates, Reid Hoffman, name them, name any person. They're just going to say the DOJ has already exonerated me. So you have to find a legal way to get around that, because the DOJ literally put handcuffs on themselves. And we were screaming about that when they did it. Rob G. Fan, 18 million from Biden DOJ and 18 people. Wow, great connection on that. Besides Trump. So I guess she got $1 million per innocent victim and threw Trump in for free. These people better go to jail, man. That's a great point. 18 million, Trump and 18. Incredible. Hey, does Luna watching The Watchers? Somebody took your advice. Man, thank you for noticing that. Just another Albertan. I hope so. We like Luna, and we hopefully can be helpful, but we made a whole video about this, and there's not a lot of interest in it, because these are 4 women who are, kind of small potatoes in the grand scheme of things. But you have to find the legal way to get the evidence. And at this stage, they've already, the DOJ, Todd Blanche, Pam Bondi, probably on order from Trump, have said, we're done. Like, there's not going to be any more charges on this. They've said that repeatedly, multiple times. So based on the current evidence, there's nothing in there that you can lead to criminal charges by their own admission. So anybody charged is just going to point back to the DOJ and say, they've already said you can't charge me. And if you do charge them, their number one defense is going to be its selective and vindictive prosecution. And this is a political prosecution because the public is outraged about something and it's not actually legitimate. And they'll have a good argument on that because the DOJ in writing said that there is no there there. So they bypass that, go prosecute these 4 women. The Supreme Court just changed the circumstances in October. Go interview them, go charge them, whatever. Then they can give you new evidence that you did not already have in your files that allows you to undo your exoneration. Hopefully they take us up on that. Or the other alternative is they're going to have to scalp somebody inside the administration if they want this to go away. Maybe Howard Lutnick. But, and I'm not saying that should happen, but how do you deal with or you just keep posting through it, right? That's the other alternative. You just keep posting through it. You just say everyone's going to forget about it and move on. That begs the question, will the Democrats do that? Maybe they will, but maybe they won't. And so if the Democrats get control and you haven't done anything and you haven't scalped anybody in your own administration, like you got to punish yourself, like own it. Yeah, no. And that was our approach from the very beginning, is to say, just come out aggressively and just say, we're releasing everything and we're going to indict a bunch of people. And it's your new, like the Epstein files could have been Trump's January 6th, but against the Democrats. Instead, the Democrats are going to pick it up and run with it and then reverse it and say that Trump is now a part of a cover-up. So I think it was a dropped ball, obviously, from the beginning. We've been screaming about it from the beginning. But how do you get around it? You go after the 4 in the NPA. Luna's on it, man. So I don't know where she got that, but we're happy she does have it. And maybe something will come there. Robert Rudd, what's up? Robert, thank you for the dono. Sinsin says all of them. All of them. Arrest them all. One old guy. John the Goofy Goonie Buffoon Thune. Nice. Shall be his new name for no movement in the Senate. John the Goofy Goonie Buffoon Thune. Goofy Goonie Buffoon Thune in the house, man. Good one from one old guy. Thank you for the dono. Thanks for sending that in and for the great support. All right, friends, let's do a refresh, see what else is percolating out there, and then we'll call it a night. Of course, members, we'll be back tomorrow morning for our Saturday stream. 9 a.m. Arizona, 8 a.m. California, 11 a.m. Eastern time, and 9 plus 3 plus 4, 4 p.m. for our European friends out there. Probably, I think. So, all right, friends, it's been a beautiful stream. We've got some amazing comments. Thank you for sending those in and for being here. Is our X working now? Elon, I think, is trying to fix X for us. Let's see. Is this working? It is working. We got a couple of comments over on X, man. Shout out. Hey, B Torn. Yeah. Good to see you, B Torn. It says Viva has Viva clips and Crowder has Crowder bits. You could start a separate clip channel. I think we have one. We've got like a couple of other channels that are mostly dead, but we could post a bunch of clips on those. That way we're not clogging up the main. It's a good idea. Satellite Boy says we should depose all these people. Oh yeah, man. Remember that clip? Amy Robach, George Stephanopoulos, James Goldstein. Yeah, Amy, I remember that clip. I think it was from Amy Robach, who said, we had Clinton. We had everything. And they forced her to spike the story. I do remember that. And Satellite Boy, here's a report of the Clintons at Zorro Ranch from the Clinton Foundation timeline. Man, nice, Satellite Boy. Good links over there. Over on X. Neuro D, sharing the link over to the watchingthewatchers.locals.com. Man, we do have the best meme smiths on the interwebs. 100%. We have such a great community. I love you guys. All right, so let us pause here for the evening, my friends. It's been a glorious week. We've covered a lot of ground this week, and it's election season, so things are going to continue to ramp up. Thank you for being here and going through the news with us as we work to hold our government accountable and fight for all the good things. We appreciate you being here. But we'll pause for the evening. It's a lovely Friday. Hopefully you're doing something fun this weekend, getting outside, getting some fresh air, spending time with family, our friends, the people that we love, having a good walk with the pup out there, whatever it is you're into. We hope you're doing it with total enjoyment, freedom of mind, and peace of spirit. Of course, before we wrap up, we want to thank our amazing mods and meme smiths. Big thank yous go out to Donut Mind Me in the house. We got John is here. We got Muffin Rando. Thank yous to K Bean, to Carrie B, of course, Neuro D. We got Janek and Dog Digger over on the Rumbles. We got Geegum Geegum, Elliot, and Just Rhonda modding the fort down for us. And it's been a lovely day. Thanks for all the great comments. Thanks for the fun and the frivolity. We'll come back, my friends, on Monday, and we'll get into it again. And of course, in order to do this whole thing appropriately, we are going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful weekend, a beautiful night. Sleep very well. Have the sweetest of dreams. We'll see you right back here on Monday. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, my beautiful friends. Now it's that time where the stream must end. You brought the heat with every chat and line. Together we expose corruption. One more time we dove in the truth where the media hides. Lit up the lies with receipts on all sides. The fight isn't over, but we made them sweat. We ain't done yet, no, not just yet. Because together we are watching the watchers. Truth on our side. Watching the watchers. We won't be denied. Watching the watchers. Eyes open wide. Fighting for freedom with nothing to hide. Drop a like and don't forget to share. And bring a friend who's ready to care. Tomorrow's lies are just today's news, but here we see through the scripted ruse. Together we are watching the watchers shine in the light. Watching the watchers defending what's right. Watching the watchers still